Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk on a Tuesday. Going up for the next 3 hours on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com and streaming in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. However you are listening to / seeing us this afternoon, we thank you for being a part of the 580 Sports Talk audience. We look forward to hanging out with you and talking sports for the next 3 hours. Dan Lucero, Brendan Drzezinski with you this afternoon. We're jam-packed today. We got plenty to get to. Gonna talk some baseball. Did you make it last night, folks, to the end of the Royals-Giants game, I believe? And I'll double-check this because I know the box score over at Baseball Reference has time of game. 2 hours and 24 minutes. That means that the final out would have been recorded just shy of 11 o'clock. That's not that bad. I've been up later than that for NBA and NHL playoff games the last couple of weeks. I had the stamina for it. I didn't think I was going to, hand up, but I made it. I was there to see Carlos Estevez record the final out of that 3-1 Royals win last night.
I miss 3.5 hour long baseball games and pitchers throwing 19 pickoffs an inning and big, fat, slovenly pitchers take an hour and a half between individual pitches.
Okay, but I unironically do miss both of those things.
I miss that because then I could stay up late and watch games and some of you would fall asleep and then I could feel morally superior because I watched the entire game. Now I have nothing. If I can't come up with some sort of fake reason to be superior, I really have nothing.
So if you made it or not, we're going to talk about it one way or another, and we will have some thoughts on that Royals victory last night behind another stellar outing by the man who is right now, according to Baseball Reference's WAR calculations, the most valuable pitcher in the American League. That's how good Kris Bubic has been. We'll talk about him and a couple of more than a couple negatives from last night. Number one, you probably didn't see Vinnie Pasquantino's go-ahead home run.
No, you were too busy watching some sort of old-timey film reel graphic. Problem with the TV, you see?
So,
going back after this, you see?
I want to know how, and I Googled this to see if there was an answer. Honest to God, I spent the ninth inning on my phone Googling, trying to see if there was an answer to how the term technical difficulties became the industry standard. Because that's what you hear, TV or radio. We are experiencing technical difficulties. It's not technical issues. It's not technical problems. It's not technical complications. It's difficulties. Why is it difficulties? Where did that start? Why does it persist? And why did FanDuel Sports Network use a particularly aggressive font for the word difficulties that took up the entire screen?
Sympathize with us. This is difficult.
It was extremely funny.
That is wild, though. A game when you had runs at a premium, to say the least. The most impactful single moment of the entire game was seen by people with a Twitter account, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. They got footage of it from the Royals TV broadcast to put on social media.
Yeah.
So I heard what it sounded like. Rex Hudler urging the ball to leave the ballpark. I saw it eventually, but I sure didn't see it live. I'm David Lesky, friend of the program. I don't know how, he tweets or posts, because I follow him on Blue Sky, he's at the game. He is always 30 seconds ahead of real time on something happening. Maybe he's a listener. Maybe he just listens to the games and he doesn't bother watching them because the radio feed is always ahead of the TV feed. But anyway, I happened to look down at my phone because they were having problems with the broadcast. I looked down at my phone to see, okay, maybe anybody posting about having a broadcast problem. And I see that David Lesky has posted about a home run by Vinnie Pasquantino. And I said, I guess I better take his word for it. He's not going to lie to me. You trust the man. He's a friend of the show. So, Vinnie P. About time he got back into the realm of the extra base hit. His go-ahead home run in the eighth, decisive for the Royals in that win. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Royals being the worst base running team in baseball. Could have been a much more comfortable win last night if they had any idea how to run the bases. And also, this team has a bit of a problem right now from the left side out of the bullpen. And I know Daniel Lynch has a shiny ERA, but I have some concerns. And we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Plenty of baseball to get to on the show today. We're going to talk a little Chiefs. We mentioned this yesterday with Matt Verderam, but we're going to do a deeper dive on it today. There's a video out there on your preferred social media. Jacob, is it Grubbs? Is the guy's name, or is it Gubbs? Is it Gubbs with no R?
I am double checking this right now because now you're making me.
Well, it's in the script here. It's in the rundown as Gubbs, which is a very like George Lucas kind of name.
Maybe I mistyped it.
Anyway,
I might have misspoken.
There's a fantasy football writer out there with the first name of Jacob. He's been posting highlight reels of quarterbacks throwing deep balls from clean pockets.
It's none of that. It's Gibbs.
Gibbs. Okay, perfect. Jacob Gibbs. Gibbs.
Gubbs is if he like his fish counterpart is Jacob Gubbs.
Gubbs is very funny. Anyway, throws of 20-plus air yards from a clean pocket. We've seen the videos for basically all the relevant quarterbacks in the NFL. And that includes, of course, Patrick Mahomes.
There's no Daniel Jones cut up here.
So we have some thoughts. Brendan has some very passionate thoughts.
Yes.
About why it is that the Chiefs' deep passing game kind of went by the wayside last year. And not in the sense that they didn't try it, but in the sense that when they did, it was bad. Why were the Chiefs bad at throwing the ball down the field last year? Who's to blame for that? The answer may surprise you, or it may not, but you'll have to hang out, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on. We're also going to talk some Jayhawks today. At the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, our guy Michael Swain will join us from Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network for Jayhawk Weekly, and we will have plenty to talk about with Michael Swain. Some more commits on the football side, and big development potentially on the basketball side today. And along those lines, we have some interesting thoughts from Bill Self from an article written by friend of the show, guest on the show, CJ Moore of The Athletic. Bill Self will always tell you exactly which way the wind is blowing. It is the one thing I appreciate about his interactions with the media. You don't have to read between a lot of tea leaves with Bill Self. He will underline it and bold it and put it in italics. Well, exactly what he means and what his team is looking for. And in this article on The Athletic today, written by CJ Moore, we have some interesting quotes from Bill Self about this team in particular and how they expect this upcoming Jayhawk basketball season to be different than last year.
He will do that. He'll give you kind of the pulse without being, I mean, sometimes he is pretty direct about it, but he's going to give you an opportunity to connect the dots about what he thinks of a team's build, what they can be, the way he built the team, etc. He will also tell you something outlandish about a player who he thinks could be good, but has no confidence at all. Do you know what he said about Parker Brown when he committed to KU?
I do not remember, no.
He said he might be more athletic than Christian Brown.
No, that's not true.
Parker Brown, by all accounts, like genuinely a very kind-hearted person, like the nicest guy, always smiling, shaking hands, kissing babies, all that. Parker Brown might not start at the Y. Like that's one of the less talented players in KU history.
Yeah, the brother, baby bro, got the athleticism.
Yes, middle bro.
Yeah,
middle child.
Yes.
Standing up for all of us out there. Christian, NBA player, NBA starter, NBA champion, a little bit different.
Yeah.
Hyped up Elmarco Jackson. And I don't think this is quite as egregious as saying Parker Brown might be more athletic than Christian Brown. But like Elmarco probably could use a little boost in the media right now. Quentin Grimes, most complete guard we've ever had.
That didn't quite work out. But
no,
hey,
not quite.
He's in the middle of a productive NBA career. That might have been. That might have been one
remarkably
of those,
good in the NBA. In fact,
might have been one of those not wrong, just early.
He was kind of on the forefront of Houston becoming what it is now.
Yes.
Like, oh shoot, he's kind of good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hyped up Elmarco. I like Elmarco Jackson. I hope he's a good player. Bill Self maybe a little flowery for him, but some interesting quotes. I'm excited to get to this today.
Yeah, we're
gonna have some good late May hoop talk.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk about that, and we'll get into it with Michael Swain for his perspective as well when he joins us. Plus, we'll talk about NCAA quarterback tiers and a list from ESPN.com that, frankly, had both of us scratching our heads.
It sucks. It's terrible
today.
More than it's terrible, it's insane. It is out of its gourd insane.
I Yeah, I truly don't understand it. Plus all the things you've come to know and love from a Tuesday edition of the show. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, including a playoff roundup, including a hater's guide to the NBA's Western Conference Finals. I'm very excited about this. The Western Conference Finals in the NBA, the Eastern Conference Finals in the NHL premiere tonight. If you're looking for an in-depth preview, nope. If you're looking for a hater's guide to the NBA's Western Conference Finals between the Thunder and the Timberwolves, I've got you. That's coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Plus, another round of What Is Wrong With You, a couple of updates from previous stories today. We got Random Question Tuesday coming up. And, of course, your interaction with the show. We want to hear from you. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. And keep that number in mind for when I give away some more tickets to the Flint Hills Rodeo at the Strong City Arena coming up on May 30th. I've got another pair of tickets to give away today, so be listening for your cue to call. You can also get at us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk, and feel free to jump on in the chat on your mobile device or your web browser and interact with us and your fellow listeners. Good afternoon to Cody, JB, Mark H is in, Tyler's in the chat, and anybody else who might join us as we go along. Again, our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Royals 3, Giants 1 last night. Another stellar outing for Kris Bubic, who now takes the American League lead in wins above replacement by pitchers. He's at 2.7 B WAR, which is the WAR calculation that Baseball Reference uses. And that's ahead of everybody else in the American League. That is officially putting Kris Bubic on May 20th for whatever this is worth. But you can't have a Cy Young conversation right now at this point in the season without talking about the lefty out of Stanford. He should have taken a no-hitter into the 7th inning last night. That was nonsense from the official scorer to rule that play by Michael Massey to have been a base hit. That was not routine. So I understand the argument, well, it has to be the play needs to be made with a normal effort. If there was extra or abnormal effort required of the play and it didn't get made, then you scored a hit. But Massey is moving to his left. He is getting behind the ball. Wilmer Flores is running. Wilmer Flores is not fleet of foot. That is an out if Michael Massey doesn't then overrun the ball and slide down and fall on his tuchus. It was very funny, actually, the play that was made. But it was an error. You can't tell me that wasn't an E4. And immediately the ruling came down. They threw the error on the board quick at Oracle Park. And then between innings, the scorekeeper had a change of heart, and then all of a sudden, that little no-hitter badge you get on a game on the MLB app, there's a no-hitter in progress, poof, that was gone, all to the whim of a little home cooking from the official score. I thought that was nonsense.
Gotta help the stats.
Of course, it became a moot point when Casey Schmidt doubled in the 7th, but Bobby Witt Jr. bailed out Bubic with a fabulous. You talk about a ball player's play. Bobby Witt Jr. made one of those. That's just a pure instinct play. 7th inning, 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. He catches a line drive. An option pitch like a quarterback to the third baseman covering to retire that runner and get Bubic out of the 7th scoreless and keep the game tied at 0 and allow for Vinnie Pasquantino to play the hero with his 2-run homer in the 8th. I believe we have video of that we're going to put on our YouTube stream. There it is. It's up on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. That's how Vinnie Pasquantino's home run looked last night. If you were watching the game in the greater Kansas City area on the FanDuel Sports Network. It's such a funny graphic. It cracks me up, man. Why they put "we are experiencing" in a real tiny font up at the very top of the screen?
Yeah, this is a real graphic design is my passion image here that they threw up on screen.
They're doing so much with this graphic. It really cracks me up. For the record, if you are watching on our YouTube, we are not personally experiencing technical difficulties. That's just what people saw.
Technically, I have difficulties.
Yes, I
in that sense
got difficulties every day. But that's what Vinnie Pasquantino's home run looked like to those of us who were watching the game last night. At least on certainly if you were a Cox subscriber in Topeka, that was what you saw. And as I understand it, that's what just about everybody saw. If that's how they were watching the game, it was funny to see people blaming it on the app because. Going back to its days as the Fox Sports Go app, and then the Bally app, and now the FanDuel Sports Network app. That app has always been trash. So I understand why that was the compulsion to blame the app. Nah, man, that was a technical issue for real. So Royals took the lead. They got themselves an insurance run after the Giants scored in the 8th. Kyle Isbell with an RBI single, and then Carlos Estevez slamming the door in the 9th for his 14th save. The good stuff, obviously, Vinnie Pasquantino with the home run. And that wasn't just a home run. It's hard to hit the ball out to that part of the park at night in San Francisco. That was an impressive, a prodigious display of power on display there from Pasquantino to drive that ball into those bleachers up over that big right center field wall that abuts McCovey Cove there at Oracle Park. That was good to see from Vinny. Maybe that gets him going. Michael Garcia, Mark Canha, and Kyle Isbell also, along with Vinny, had 2 hits apiece. Jonathan India was on base twice. That's what you want to see from those guys. And they were able to tack on. That's been missing for these Royals teams. They've been leaving it close, leaving it 3-1. And then Hunter Renfroe got thrown out rounding second base. And it was the 3rd time last night that the Royals ran themselves into an out. The first time was the most egregious when Isbell and India had reached to start the 3rd inning, and Bobby Witt Jr. is up. I mean, this is the dream scenario, right? It's your second time through the order. There's no score. You've seen the pitcher. You're rattling his cage early on in the game. You know Bubic is in good form. His first 2 innings have been solid. Here's the chance to strike a blow. You got Bobby Witt Jr. at the plate. And Bobby hits one hard, but it stays up, and the shortstop is positioned well, and he makes the catch. And Kyle Isbell is 3/4 of the way to third base on a ball he does not see through the infield. Dude, what? Not 2 outs. It's not a ground ball. Like, it's one thing if it's a hot smash and the shortstop. Who was the shortstop last night for the Giants?
Hot smash or 2 in my day.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
The shortstop, Adames, makes that play in the hole on a ground ball and makes a hard throw to get Isbell, who took off on the contact. That's one thing. What are you doing that far off the bag on the line drive? It's so bad, and it's a continuation of a theme this year. There are many reasons why the Royals have struggled to score runs. The most obvious reason is the middle of the order hasn't produced. The second most obvious reason is the top and the bottom really haven't produced all that great either. It's basically been 2 guys who've been consistent from the start of the season to now. But they've had trouble with runners in scoring position, and they have run themselves out of so many opportunities. You're about to flip the order against Jordan Hicks in the 9th, and Hicks couldn't find the strike zone with MapQuest. And you got a chance to put up a crooked number, and maybe you don't need Estevez in the 9th. Maybe you can get comfortable there in the 9th inning, even though there are 2 outs. And then Hunter Renfroe, with the ball in front of him, overruns second base and gets tagged out. Like, man, this is a theme. Why is this team so bad on the bases?
I'm not sure, but you really can't afford to be that if you're the Royals. I find this hard to believe. As much as I like the advanced metrics, the StatCast stuff from baseball, I find it hard to believe that the Royals are essentially a net neutral in runs gained or lost in base running this year. I don't believe that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right?
According to this, they're ranked 18th in baseball in base running runs. There are somehow 12 teams worse. I don't think so. I do not agree with that, to be complete. I test overtaking the number test here, in my personal opinion. So, all this being said, we talked a lot last year when the Royals were off to that hot start about how, look, you're probably not going to be able to win just based on sheer talent all the time, especially, early in the year, though, while you're trying to stack these wins, give yourself a buffer for later on in the season. You got to win on the margins, right?
Yeah.
Talk about this a lot with Kansas football. And back in the day, that was kind of K-State's thing. Like, they did all the little things right in football, right? And that's kind of how they built up this brand in a lot of ways. If you're the Royals here, considering how hard it is for you to get guys on and make contact and then make more contact to get those rare guys on base all the way around to score, you cannot be giving away runs and certainly cannot be giving away outs on the base pass, because they're two different things. Like an especially conservative approach, rounding third, rounding second, whatever, that might take runs off the board. But if you are running into outs, that is a different and even worse thing. Because, okay, wow, you really should have gone there on that fly ball. You held up. But at least you're going to get another chance to bring a guy home. You just make it out. You're taking the guy off the base paths, and you're throwing away your baseball currency, your 27 outs, one of those. 1/27th of your chances to win the game. No bueno, obviously. This team cannot afford to do that because they have so few scoring opportunities already. So if you're Kyle Isbell and you're throwing outs away, you're risking throwing the game away because you're only going to have so many chances, so many bites at the apple here. So this is something that we're far enough into the year. I feel like it's more likely a feature than it is a bug, but they better find a way to download some patches for it, because otherwise you're going to put yourself over time in a position where, hey, we really could have used that run in this 2-1 loss when Cole Reagans was awesome, but we couldn't get him any support. We really needed that run in a 3-2 loss when Kris Bubic was awesome and needed run support. You can't be giving these away, because over the course of 162 games, they're going to come back and bite you. The Royals are lucky it didn't cost them last night.
I did not mention Dairon Blanco getting picked off and caught stealing last night.
Brutal.
A play that got Matt Quatraro ejected. Boy, Jordan Baker had a very quick trigger finger on cue last night. And I know that in this era of replay, they are going to be quicker to throw you out if it's a play that they can't review and you're going to go argue something. Same with balls and strikes anymore. They're going to be pretty quick on the trigger if they feel like you're not going to get out of there fast enough. And apparently Q had the look of a guy who wanted his money's worth, because Jordan Baker ran him post haste. But Blanco gets caught stealing, and here's a stat that matches up with the eye test. No team in baseball has been caught stealing more than the Kansas City Royals. They have now been caught 16 times on the base paths this year, on 40 stolen bases. The teams behind them in the order, you have to get all the way down to the Guardians, who've only been caught 12 times, to find a team with fewer total stolen bases than the Royals have that has been caught near as much. So they have been a poor base stealing team, which doesn't really track because they have good base stealers, or at least it felt on paper that they did. Bobby Witt Jr. has shown elite base running, base stealing ability. Michael Garcia was 37 for 39 last year. He's already been caught 3 times as many times trying to steal bases this season. Dairon Blanco got caught for the first time this year last night. They're 40 for 56 stealing bases. That's not good enough. That's costing them runs and costing them opportunities as they go. So that's one thing that stood out last night as an opportunity to make the game a little more comfortable that went by the wayside. Another thing that I think could become more of a concern as we move forward. Daniel Lynch pitched the 8th inning last night, or at least he started the 8th inning last night. And you look at Lynch's back of the baseball card numbers, he's got a 1.29 earned run average, and that is even after being charged with the run last night. He got Luis Matos to ground out, but he gave up a hit to the 9-hole hitter, Sam Huff, and then another base hit to the leadoff man, Elliot Ramos. And the Royals brought John Schreiber in to face a righty-lefty-righty. It was always looked like going to be a tag team situation in the 8th inning. Lucas Erceg, after going 1 2/3 on Sunday, understandably unavailable last night. And Schreiber got Flores on a filthy 3-2 pitch, but he gave up the double to Jung-Ho Lee that made the game tight again before he got Chapman to pop out to end the frame. But Daniel Lynch, now, in 21 innings of relief this year, has struck out 10 batters. That is a 4.3 strikeouts per 9 ratio. He's only walked 7. That's fine. You can live with that. He's only allowed 1 home run in 21 innings. That's pretty great. But that's a lot of contact. And I know there have been people who have called for more Lynch in high leverage, but you cannot be a successful high leverage reliever in Major League Baseball in 2025 and miss that few bats. You can't. So I understand from Quatraro's perspective why he's been hesitant to use Daniel Lynch in those spots. Didn't mind him there because right now he's their best and most trustworthy lefty, and he had left-handers come to the plate. But that's its own problem. If your best lefty can't miss any bats out of the bullpen, you're going to need to go get a lefty who can. And I do wonder, with Sam Long on the shelf and no timetable for his return, and Angel Zerpa struggling the way he has, and Evan Sisk so unproven, and the understandable desire to leave Lynch in those mid-inning, multi-inning roles because he's just not a bat misser that you need in the late frames. I do wonder if now left-handed relief becomes a priority for the Royals and something they try and go get at the deadline.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong by any means in saying that. Here's your problem. Thanks, Dayton. You have to get a bat.
Yes.
Like there is no.
Well,
if you do not get a bat, you will not reach the ceiling you wanted to reach this year. Well, you can't do it.
But the nice thing about left-handed relief is it generally comes pretty cheap, right? You get a couple of A-ball arms, maybe somebody out of the Dominican League or out of your complex league. A left-handed reliever is not going to cost you a lot. Like, it's not going to cost you the next Cole Reagans to go get like the next Aroldis Chapman. Probably, if you're smart.
Right. You just my point is less so the overall cost specifically here, and it's more so you've got to be careful with the cost because you don't have much, period. Like, yes, you've got 40 single A arms or whatever it ends up being, but like someone's got to have some interest in those guys. Like you're just so barren that you have to be intentional with your resource allocation at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And you can thread the needle here. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you've got to be careful because you do not have an option. You have to go get a bat. I mean, that's required at this point. So you've got to be careful about where you are spending these resources in this capital. It can be done, though.
It can.
But you've got to get a good deal.
Royals go for a series win tonight behind Michael Lorenzen. Hayden Birdsong getting his first start on the mound this season for the Giants. We'll preview it in the 5 o'clock hour. Right now, we're going to take a timeout. Come back, talk a little Jayhawk basketball. We got Random Question Tuesday coming up later this hour. Your text, 785-272-9429. We want to hear from you. We're just getting started on Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:36 on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in about an hour on the show, Michael Swain of Fog.net is going to join us for Jayhawk Weekly, our weekly chat with Michael about everything going on in the KU sports universe. And there'll be plenty to discuss, in particular based on an article today from our pal CJ Moore of The Athletic, who had a chance to catch up with Bill Self during this offseason. Some choice cuts in that article, some interesting quotes from Bill Self, who will always lead you directly to what it is that he is about to do or what it is that he is looking for. Not going to have to do a lot of reading between the lines with Bill Self, which is something I really appreciate. The money quote, the one that everybody's going to pull out, is one that, I mean, it's nice to hear it in quotations from Bill Self, but we have assumed, based upon how this roster is being put together this summer, that this was how he felt all along. This quote just crystallizes it from CJ Moore's profile in The Athletic. Quote, recruit fits rather than talent, Self told The Athletic last week. I think on paper, there's been some things that have been done that were more popular in the short term, but did they actually fit as well on how you wanted to play? Bill Self admitting that winning the transfer portal rankings list, not as important as getting guys who know how to play Bill Self basketball.
No, I have two thoughts in particular about this. One, admittedly, it does help when you have the guy who's the favorite to be the number one pick in the NBA draft. It helps.
It's
because
easier to fit around that level of talent.
Yeah, Darren Peterson looks like that dude. But that being said, I do think it is interesting to note, and CJ wrote about this in the piece and obviously did a great job with it. Yes, it is one thing to have good old college basketball players. Having a guy or two like that is good. You know what's better? Having NBA players. Having guys who are going to play professionally on American soil, or even like in the Euro League and not playing for the second league team in Bahrain. Like that is something that is positive to have. Or like, I am like the last remaining Hunter Dickinson defender. He is going to go pro in CBS Sports Network. Like that's the kind of players that KU had this past year. Darren Peterson is going to be an NBA pick. Flory Badunga is trending like a first round pick. If KU can land one of its remaining targets, doesn't sound like it'll be Damasar. Maybe it's Darian Williams. That's an NBA guy. Either one of those. There's an international kid, too, who they're going after right now. Egvalis, I believe is the name, who will be an NBA player. Like, high-level talent. And if you know you have a couple guys like that, you can go with the fits. You don't have to go, oh, let's go get, like, this year's version of Drew Timme. Let's go get this year's version of Armando Bacot or Hunter Dickinson. No, let's just get guys who complement them. Trey White from Illinois. Extreme complementary piece. He's a good cutter, rebounder, doesn't need the ball in his hands. Again, CJ wrote about that specifically. That's the kind of dude you want. Melvin Council is going to be a pain in your ass for 40 minutes or 37 minutes, whatever. That's a great player to have alongside these guys. So yeah, having dudes who are going to make the team work as opposed to AJ Storr is going to run the AJ Storr offense. DeJuan Harris is going to run the DeJuan Harris offense. Hunter Dickinson is going to run the Hunter Dickinson offense. That doesn't work. It just does not click like that. So yeah, recruiting based on fit, I think, was an obvious need in terms of a change in direction for this KU team. And I'm glad Bill Self feels the same way, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Darian Williams, the former Texas Tech standout, played great for the Red Raiders in their run to the Elite Eight this past March. Today announcing that he is withdrawing his name from consideration for the 2025 NBA draft. There's a line in this article, again, CJ Moore of The Athletic, where Bill Self says directly that they are one piece away, preferably a piece that can go get them 14 or 15 points a game. Hey, Brendan, how many points per game did Darian Williams score for the Texas Tech Red Raiders in the 2024-25 season?
That would be 15.1.
Huh.
Does that remind you at all of, I don't know, when KU was very actively and aggressively recruiting Hunter Dickinson, and at a press conference after his heart issue, Bill Self said, we're looking for a big man who can go get 20 and 10. I wonder who you're talking about.
There was only one of those.
You need a guy who can be a difference maker, who can score 14 to 15 a night. I wonder who that's about. Yeah, pretty funny. I thought this was an interesting note. This is from Derek Johnson, who's the host of the Locked On Jayhawks podcast. Great dude. I know Derek personally. Great dude. Also not on a competing radio station anymore. He said this is one of his favorite things about Darian Williams. D5 is what he goes by the way.
Interesting.
When the year, so he's going to be on his third school, wherever he ends up, assuming it's not Texas Tech again. Nevada was 13-18 the year before he got there. They were 22-11 his year there. Texas Tech was 16-16 last year. He gets to campus, they go 23-11. He is a winner, a winning caliber player. His net on-off rankings, so like how efficient your team is when you're on the floor versus off the floor, 98th percentile, 88th percentile, 91st percentile. When he is on the floor, his team wins. It did at Nevada, it did at Texas Tech, and if he gets to KU, it will there. Or if he ends up at North Carolina State, which Jeff Goodman said is also a possibility. I know Ohio State has been recruiting him extremely aggressively. Don't do that. But they would be better with him on the floor, too. He's that kind of player. I like that piece when there's like 2 or 3 of them. I don't like building the entire roster out of that. I think that's an awesome third piece. Your big wing to go along with Peterson, who's not a true point guard, but he's going to control the ball all the time.
The initiator of offense.
And Florey is your 5. Yep. That's a really, really good top 3.
We will take a break. We got plenty more to talk about from that article. We'll do so with Michael Swain of Fog.net coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. When we come back, though, Random Question Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk. Random Question Tuesday time. If you want to play along, your answers to the text line, 785-272-9429, or in the YouTube comments. Brendan, I played baseball through high school, very briefly in college, which means that I am afflicted off the air with what my mother always called dugout mouth, which is one way of saying that I'm a little too comfortable at times with casual profanity.
Yeah. Same.
This is a problem now that I have a child. you got to watch the casual swearing because you do not want your. I mean, my son is nearing a year old, so he's starting to make sounds and words. We can kind of recognize dada and mama and getting there, right? And don't want him to repeat some filthier things that might come out of my mouth, say, while I'm watching a basketball game. Just for one example. So my question, and this is quite seriously a question to the listening audience. So again, the text line is 785-272-9429 or the YouTube live chat on Channel 580 Sports Talk. What words have you used to be in place of swears as you try to avoid swearing in whatever scenario requires you to avoid swearing? Maybe you're around your grandmother who doesn't abide it, or your mother who would rather you not take the Lord's name in vain. Not that I would know anything about that. Or you're just around young children and you don't want to let the F-bombs fly.
Or you work in a career that is monitored by the Federal Communications Commission.
Yes. Again, very specific, odd. But yes, what have you found yourself leaning on as non-profanity crutches, word exclamations, if you will, to replace a well-punctuated rated R potty word?
Nothing often enough. I can tell you that much.
You've got a couple of months before you really start getting conscious of that with your child.
Yeah, I'll hit a gall dang it once in a while. That was what my mom would always say. My dad wouldn't use anything to cover the swears. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I use regularly. I swear too casually off the air. I'm going to be honest with you. I just said the other day, in fact, that I need to cut back on it because I don't want my kid to pick up on it.
So I have found myself, and I don't know where these came from, because usually it would be like, something you picked up in the ether, something like your grandpa said or your mother said or something instead. And that becomes the thing. I don't know where these came from, but I have found myself with G-Mani or Jeezaloo. And I don't know where those come from. They're very old-timey sounding.
Yeah.
But that's what I have done. Like my son is scrambling away from me and trying to get into the toilet again. Jeez-a-loo, kid, you're wearing me out. I'm pretty
sure I heard that from the soda jerk when I went to get a sody pop the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little old-timey, but they work for me.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of. I bellowed out Jesus, Mary, and Joseph the other day, which is like really bordering on not okay. That's like a little too close to the vain category.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any others that are. Occasionally, I'll say something in French.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I've said Jésus Christ before. You can probably guess what that means. Yeah, so I'll break out something in a different language once in a while. That's different.
From the 785, Dag Nabbit has pretty much replaced damn it in my vocabulary. Also, another one from the 785, fudge or fudgesicle or Jiminy Cricket. That's not bad. That's not bad.
I have this is more ironic than actual in use, but there's a famous episode of my favorite show. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They play the Game of Games. It's just a very violent game they all made up. And there's a round where you get penalized if you swear. So they just come up with various things to say instead. Cheese and crepes. So I'll pull that one out once in a while.
We have a nomination from the YouTube comments from Dan Ranger who says cheese and rice.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Geez, the criminally from Christopher. Tyler's in with Bull Diggy. Texter from the 615 says, I'll call people bubblicious on the road if I'm mad at them.
Yeah, I won't say that one. I got some other choice words for people on the road.
Yeah, if Asher's not in the back seat, I may. Ryan's in with a frack. That's quality. Yeah. A lot of good suggestions in the comments and on the text line.
Yeah, if I'm alone in the car, it's a little colorful.
Dugout mouth still applies solo in the vehicle for me.
All right, so for mine today, not really in honor necessarily, but notable because George Wendt died today.
He did.
Yes, Norm.
R.I.P. to Norm. Norm. I hope they gave him that when he arrived at the pearly gate.
Oh, I'm Norm. What is your favorite bar you've ever been to? It could be, but not necessarily like your version of Cheers, but just your favorite bar you've ever been to.
Huh. That's an interesting question because I was never like a bar. I never had like a regular bar.
Yeah. I did when I was in college, and I didn't have a fake ID because I didn't drink, so it wasn't worth my money.
Sure.
But when my senior year and end of junior year into my first few years out of school, Louisa's downtown in Lawrence, many hours on the pool tables there.
Sure.
Yes, that was my regular. I'll tell you my favorite though. Doc Holiday's. It's a dive bar on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. I was there for a conference when I was in college, actually. Went with a couple buddies.
Sure.
Closed the bars open until 4, which is awesome. But we closed the place down. It is no frills. Like, there's cowboy boots stapled on the ceiling and on the wall. Old school jukebox. It's dark. It's dank. Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
You know, the closest I had to like a regular bar, this is my much younger days, my first job in radio when I was working in northern Wyoming. And we had a staff that was fairly young, and some younger people on staff. So we would go out on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and sometimes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. And we would go to Goose's, one of the 3 bars in Worland, Wyoming. We would go to Goose's, and Goose's was a good time. They had a patio. We go to Goose's.
The story I have from this bar in New York. So I was there with a friend of mine from KU, and he was a little bit older, but he was still in school. He had some friends who'd already graduated and were working like on Wall Street. So they knew where to take us, knew, the dives to go to and whatnot. And they were all from Overland Park. So they knew my buddy, and they knew I was a Packers fan. It was a radio thing we were there for. So we get to this bar, we sit down, everybody's got their drinks. The last guy to sit down, and he was Andrew, real great guy, sits down, looks me right in the face and goes, "All right, sports guys, I need your biggest hot take right now. Me first." Takes a huge swig of this beer, pounds it on the table and goes, "All right, Aaron Rodgers, gay." And I'll remember it as long as I live. And I was like, "Oh, whoa, okay." I don't know what to do with that. I don't remember what mine was, but I remember Andrew's.
That's so funny. Honest to goodness, when I would go back home, and I just discovered that they had closed this location. But if I ever went back home, like where I grew up, Aurora, Colorado, where my folks live, and I would go meet up with a buddy, we'd go to the bar at the Old Chicago's. And we would meet there. And I am so sad that the Old Chicago's here in Topeka is closed. And I'm really sad that Old Chicago near my parents' house is closed. I discovered that last time I went out home. I almost cried, man. I almost drove off the road. Full tears. I was so sad.
Yeah, man, it's tough when those places shut down.
We'll take a break, come back, wrap up this hour. 580 Sports Talk next. People say we don't talk enough auto racing on the program. Fox Sports ahead of the upcoming Indy 500 Memorial Day weekend. So you got the Indy 500 coming up. Fox Sports on Friday afternoon will air the Weenie 500, a race between 6 Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles at the famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I don't know if they're going to do the 500 miles in the Wienermobiles. I don't know how long the race is going to be. I just know it is called the Weenie 500, 2 p.m. Eastern, so 1 p.m. Central on Friday. You can watch the race live on the Fox Sports app. The Weenie 500. 6 Wienermobiles, each representing a different region of the United States.
That's sick.
Yeah, man.
That's absolutely awesome.
Have you ever seen one of the Wienermobiles up close?
I have a picture of one in a hotel parking lot.
I got to be in one.
Hey.
I got to sit in the Wienermobile when it came down to Wichita once. This was a long time ago. But yeah, they're pretty swank.
Love that.
Yeah. Big fan of the Wienermobile. Weenie 500. We might have a recap of that on Tuesday's 580 Sports Talk. Hey, I've got a pair of tickets to give away for the Flint Hills PRCA Rodeo on May 30th at the Strong City, Kansas Arena. Flint Hills PRCA Rodeo tickets for caller number 2 to 785-272-9429. 785-272-9429. You're going to Flint Hills PRCA Rodeo on May 30th. We are talking Chiefs deep ball, and Michael Swain joins us next hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk. On this Tuesday afternoon in the capital city, Dan Lucero, Brendan Wrzinski hanging out with you on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. We also live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. Great day in sports and on Sports Talk, and we appreciate you being along with us to be a part of it. We're with you until 6 o'clock. 8 o'clock tonight, Royals baseball, game 2 of their 3-game set in San Francisco. Another 8:45 Central Time first pitch at Oracle Park tonight. Michael Lorenzen and Hayden Birdsong, the starting pitchers, as the Royals look for back-to-back wins to open this 6-game roadie. Then tomorrow, it's a 2 o'clock pregame and a 2:45 first pitch, which means you might not hear us at all. You might hear a little bit of us if it's a particularly swift game, but if the Royals do go with a bullpen game, I suspect that game might trend towards the 3-hour mark more so than the 2.5-hour mark. And if that game does near 3 hours, we're probably not making air tomorrow, to be real honest about it. So stay tuned after Royals baseball. If it happens before 6 o'clock, if they go off the air before 6, we'll come on and recap it with you. But if not, they're still playing, or the Royals Baseball Network is still broadcasting at 5:59:59. We're off tomorrow. So that's how that's going to work. We'll be back for a regular show on Thursday with the Royals having an off day. So
I will not. This is my last show of the week.
that's true. Yeah, we got the Memorial Day weekend coming up, and you are having taking the occasion to head on back to the city of Big Shoulders, the home of the Pope.
Yes. I'm going to his hometown, Dalton, Illinois. Actually, I'm going to join one. No, I'm not actually doing any of that. Not my Pope. Literally, my people don't have a Pope. My people. I'm Episcopalian.
Only Pope I recognize is Contavious Caldwell.
For sure. No, one of my best friends is having a vow renewal. He got married during the pandemic. They didn't get to have a ceremony. They got married in a field on Facebook Live.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so they're finally 5 years later having their ceremony. Now one of the groomsmen. So that's where I will be this weekend, and I'm heading up there on Thursday afternoon. So I won't see you guys until next Monday.
See?
Oh no, next Tuesday.
Yeah,
there's a holiday.
Because yes, we will take the Memorial Day holiday off, and the Royals will be playing midday anyhow. So probably wouldn't have a show anyhow. But we are taking Memorial Day off. So Brendan will be out for the next few days here, and it'll be myself. Spencer Dupuis will be back with the show as well. He's off today, but we will have a little 3-day weekend of our own on 580 Sports Talk to look forward to. Looking forward this hour to Michael Swain joining us. He'll join us in about half an hour here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network for Jayhawk Weekly. Plenty happening in the world of Jayhawk athletics. I will say this, for things like the transfer portal, everybody complains about them. Everybody hates them. They still give you a lot of content, keeps college sports in the news through the months of like no revenue sports happening. So we've got some basketball and some football recruiting to talk about with Michael. And hey, we'll talk some baseball too, as KU enters Big 12 tournament, plays the number 2 seed in the Big 12 baseball tournament. Michael joined us about half an hour for Jayhawk Weekly. We'll also have another round of What Is Wrong With You coming up. One of the wilder stories I've ever brought to What Is Wrong With You. I'm just going to go ahead and tease right now. I feel like we've got a real contender for the month today on What Is Wrong. I call it my shot already on that one. We still got headlines in the 5 o'clock hour. My haters guide to the NBA Western Conference Finals. We're going to do that. It's minorly self-indulgent, but I'm going to get some hating in as the NBA's Western Conference Finals between the Thunder and the Timberwolves opens tonight. We'll preview game 2 of that Giants-Royals series. We'll preview it tonight, see if Michael Lorenzen can keep the good times rolling as the Royals play their second game of this 6-game, 2-city road trip. But I wanted to start this hour with something that we did discuss with our NFL insider, Matt Verderam, on yesterday's show. There was a fantasy football writer who is posting and making his own cut-ups for social media of the league's top quarterbacks, the NFL's top quarterbacks, and every throw of 20 or more air yards out of a clean pocket in 2024, which you would term as a deep shot.
Yes, and
effectively.
I think the reason that he was doing clean pocket is, well, he didn't chart that himself. He's using the stuff from Next Gen Stats that the NFL is charting. But I think that is the best way to kind of encapsulate this is what your deep passing game is. Because you get pressure, whether it's off the edge, up the middle, that throws a whole new set of variables into the mix, right? Like this is in its purest form. You're dropping back. You've got 2.5 seconds to throw. What are you doing with those opportunities?
And we watched the Patrick Mahomes video. You had watched it and you told me about it. And then you and I watched it together. And I had a chance to watch it again earlier today in preparation for this. So we watched every time Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 20 or more yards down the field out of a clean pocket in 2024. And it wasn't real good.
Nope.
Was it, Brendan? It wasn't good. There weren't a lot of completions.
Well, okay, here's the first part of it. I was describing these clips to Dan, this project Jacob Gibbs is putting together, and I said, so the Chiefs video, and before I can get to my point, Dan goes, was it 47 seconds long?
Yeah. If you recall, Chiefs had some pass protection issues last year.
Not a lot of clean pockets, but it's about 5 minutes, and there are a lot of problems. If you don't mind me jumping in here, and I recommend you go check it out if you're on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, because it's really good stuff. He's got it on a bunch of different quarterbacks. It's really fascinating stuff, the All-22 film. I want to start by saying Patrick Mahomes is not blameless here, because he's not. You go through, there are a number of throws in these situations that are underthrown or,
they're misses. They're misses by Mahomes.
They're misses.
And look, no quarterback hits on 100% of these.
No
quarterback makes the perfect throw 100% of these.
Yeah.
You can see because you have the all-22 camera. You can see like in the games where the throw might have been affected by wind, where you got the flags on the goalposts flapping around. You can see maybe where the wind got a hold of one or maybe knocked one down.
And sometimes you just miss. Like I was reminded of the interception he threw, and it was an incredible effort by Cam Taylor-Britt of the Bengals, week two. Yeah. Incredible effort. The throw was also ass. A horrible throw. What are you doing? Why are you throwing that? So there were some mistakes by Mahomes. He's got to improve on that. It was his worst year regardless of throwing the deep ball, okay? So I will start with that. My bigger problem is the wide receiver play was horrendous, genuinely horrendous. And it comes in a couple of different forms. I don't mean to bag on too many guys in too many different ways, but my God, it was bad. You have to start with Xavier Worthy because he is the deep threat. A vast majority of these downfield 20-yard plus passing attempts from a clean pocket for Patrick Mahomes went to number one, the then rookie out of Texas, which I like. We'll start there.
Like you drafted him, right?
Let's build you up before we tear you down. I like the process. He ran a 4.2, the fastest 40 time ever at the NFL Combine. He's got speed. He's a deep threat guy. Awesome. One of the best throws in the video was a straight go ball, straight line down the left hash. You remember it was early in the season against the Chargers.
Week 4.
The game where Rashee Rice got hurt in. Beautiful rainbow throw. Worthy runs right under it for an easy touchdown. Mahomes and Worthy clearly were not on the same page for a large portion of the season. And it's hard for rookie wide receivers in this offense and in general. I understand that. But between Mahomes overthrowing him, underthrowing him, and on balls that I didn't think were terribly thrown, it looked like Mahomes was throwing to a spot. I just don't think Worthy was able to get to that spot often enough. Mixed in with the fact that I've never seen a receiver with worse sideline awareness. And he can improve on that. He's young, obviously. Bro, get your feet in. Multiple throws that should have been long completions where Xavier Worthy just wasn't able to stop or he lost track of where he was on the field. It was bad. They found ways to use him more at the end of the year. Positive, improved upon. The deep stuff has got to be better. If you want that explosion back in the offense, you need to get those two on the same page.
Probably the best bit of the season is that they did get it dialed in when they were down 1 million points in the Super Bowl. And what you hope, if you can take anything away from that awful game for the Chiefs, in the second half, it was finally like the realization of what you had hoped to see in the, I guess it would have been 19 games previous.
Yeah, it's pretty
with
fun.
Patrick Mahomes putting air underneath the ball and Xavier Worthy running underneath it.
And I don't think that this is an example like Xavier Worthy sucks. He's not going to be good. He has to be a gadget guy.
Right,
I don't believe that.
Not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here.
But rookie, made mistakes, hard offense. It was ugly. So that's the big one. That to me is the biggest one because he got the majority of these targets. And again, I like that process. Here are the other things that were bad before we build them back up. Well, you didn't have Rashee Rice, which sucked. The best throw in the entire collection was week 2 against the Bengals. A beautiful throw to Rashee Rice. Obviously, he got hurt. Can't do anything about that. When Hollywood Brown came back from injury, you would have thought he was Hollywood Clown because he looked slow and couldn't make plays, couldn't get to the ball, looked confused. It was bad. No bueno with Hollywood Brown. DeAndre Hopkins got targeted 3 times against the Raiders on such plays. I think it was the Raiders. Do you know how many other balls he was thrown in these situations over the course of his time with Kansas City? Let me answer for you. None. Nada. Not a single one.
Yeah.
Why did you get him? What was the point? It all worked. It was 2 completions and then a ball that was knocked out of his hands that he made a tough adjustment to on a bad throw. It was good work by Hopkins. What the hell was that? Why weren't you using him for things that he was actually good at? Travis Kelce's too slow to do this stuff anymore. And he can still be useful, but as we've talked about before, Kelce's got to be more Jason Witten than 2019 Travis Kelce at this point.
If you're throwing Kelce the ball that far down the field at this point, it is probably because the play broke down and it's not a clean pocket, and Kelce is improvising and trying to find the open space down the field. You're not probably throwing him those tight end seam routes or those wheel routes.
Deep corners.
Yeah, that's just, those do not appear to be in Travis Kelce's bag any longer.
And finally, to sum up the bad, and obviously there's a lot of it, Justin Watson, I'm sure you're a nice guy. Oh my God, dude. I told Dan going into watching this, there's one play, I believe it was against Houston, where he just throws himself into the football and alligator arms
like he didn't have control of his limbs.
And we got to that point and like burst out laughing. Like, oh my, how? You are an NFL veteran. Like, you've been in the league for years.
Like, you know that computer game Quap?
Yes, where you tap the keys, trying to make the guy run.
QW and OP are how you control, and you have to make the legs and the arms move in unison to propel him forward. Otherwise, he falls back on his head.
Yes.
And he can't get more than like a meter down the track because, as it turns out, the human body is a miracle of all kinds.
Correct.
Anyway, watching Justin Watson try to play a deep ball is like watching somebody try to play Quap.
Dude, it's horrible. Do you know how many snaps he played last year?
So many.
60% of the Chiefs' offensive snaps.
That is
not 60% of the 20-yard you throws to the air. 60% of all snaps. That is preposterous. What? What in the world was going on? I knew it was bad. I didn't realize it was 60% bad. So this is a lot of exposition. This is a lot of background. And frankly, it's a lot of negativity. I think this can be turned into a good thing pretty easily. Why is that? If the Chiefs got C- wide receiver play this coming year, I think that throw out they haven't scored 30 points. Now they can score 30 pretty easily, I think. If they get competent, I'm not asking for good, above average, slightly above average, aesthetically pleasing, none of it. I'm looking for competent wide receiver play. C to C- wide receiver play. This team can score 30 points in any game. And I think there is good reason to believe that can happen. 1, another year for Xavier Worthy. Year 2 is a huge year for NFL players in general. Second year with this big, expansive, complicated playbook. Second year with Patrick Mahomes. As long as he puts in the effort to get better and to work with his quarterback, I think Xavier Worthy can get better. Again, body control. Need to work on that. But there's good reason to believe he can do that. Rashee Rice, even if he's not 100% all year, coming back from a nasty knee injury, he will be healthy. He will be back on the field. That is a big deal. Kelce, I don't really know if there's a fix at this point, but like better understanding what his role should be, I think is going to help that and is going to open things up for different guys. Also throw in Hollywood Brown, fully healthy, full training camp, full preseason.
Second year in the offense.
Yeah, hopefully looks a little bit.
Second year of training, going through training camp anyway.
Yes, I think that will be very helpful for him. Jalen Royals taking any number of snaps that had previously been allotted to Justin Watson. I don't need him to play 60. I'll take any percentage of them. And Watson's obviously in Houston now. Good luck. That would be a positive. Juju, I think he played, about 36% of snaps last year. I think that's coming down. I'm looking at like 25 to 30 for Juju this year.
Because he never popped up in that video.
Not once.
He never got a deep target.
No, I think he gave a guy a high five at one point. That's about all you saw from Juju. So that is what I am looking for. That was my takeaway. And maybe you felt it was more on Mahomes, more on the play calling. And I think that's totally fair. To me, it was about the wide receiver play. And that can affect a quarterback because is Worthy going to be there? I don't know. Kind of half double clutch. Like that throws off the timing. It throws off the confidence. It throws off the play calling rhythm. That makes things really challenging. So as bad as that group was this past season, I do believe, I know there's a lot of room for improvement. And I don't think it takes that much improvement across the board to take them to another level.
Every issue that Patrick Mahomes has had the last couple of seasons. And I want to be clear, these are champagne problems for a quarterback who's played at the level that Mahomes has played at the last 2 seasons. But in the last 2 years, as his total yards have declined, as his touchdown numbers have declined, as his interception numbers have gone up, you can bring it all back to one overarching theme: trust. Trust in his offensive line, wavering. Trust in his wide receiver core, wavering. Patrick Mahomes has not had the trust in the passing game that you need to confidently put those deep balls where they need to be, to step into those deep balls and place them where only the receiver can get them, to not bail in the pocket on deep shots. Like we talked about this a lot last year, and you don't see these in this video because it's not what this video is intended to show. But there were a lot of times last year where the Chiefs had deep shots set up and Mahomes never got them off because he's got to drop his eyes because his left tackle, Wanye Morris, is getting beaten like a rented mule on the blind side. So there were a lot of plays that could have been there and went by the wayside because the offensive line play wasn't quite good enough. If the standard of play, standard of performance from the offensive line and the wide receiver group increases, you are absolutely still capable of seeing fireworks from the Chiefs offense. I don't know that it's ever going to look like 2018, 2019 again because they don't have a Tyreek Hill, and they're not getting that version of Travis Kelce back ever again. But there could still be fireworks. There can still be high-scoring games. There can still be plenty of deep balls. They don't have to be, you see people on the internet saying, Andy Reid's turned Patrick Mahomes into Alex Smith the last 2 years. He's got the lowest average depth of target of any quarterback in the league the last 3 seasons.
Crazy.
Lower than Daniel Jones. Like, that is a bit of an issue. But you'll see more of those deep shots when they are available because the line is holding up and when he trusts them because he trusts his rapport with guys like Brown and Worthy, who in particular, I think, stand to play a bigger role in the deep passing game this coming year.
I think there needs to be a quality of play shift. I think there needs to be a philosophical adjustment. I wouldn't even say shift, a philosophical adjustment. You can throw the ball down the field. Like, it is okay to do it. And just because what you're doing has worked to this point does not mean that you should stick with it. I've said it a number of times before. I think the Chiefs have gone too far in this direction after the 21-22 offseason. They've gone too far into the let's just not make mistakes. Like, this is as close to old school West Coast offense as you're getting in the NFL right now. And the roots of that are all over offenses all over the league. But this very basic original roots of it kind of offense is not going to fly, which makes it so annoying that they won 15 games. Like, I feel so much better having this conversation if they had won 10. Okay, they clearly need to make a big change. No, they won 15 freaking games, just got hammered in the last one. So you make a handful of shifts. Philosophically, we want to push the ball a little bit more. The wide receivers grow up a little bit. Mahomes develops a little bit more trust in the receivers and in his offensive line. I think things will start clicking again. If they don't, and we see more of this, I don't think this. I know they won 15 this past year. I do not see that happening again.
No, I don't think they would win that many games this coming year if they can't really ratchet up the offense. The good fortune in close games, that pendulum tends to swing back in the other direction. So it would behoove the Chiefs, if they want to win big and they want to, win 13, 14, 15 games, it would behoove them to be a little more dominant. And it's still within their grasp. There's no question about it. I think trust is a huge, huge issue there. We'll take a break. When we come back, it's What Is Wrong With You? Then Michael Swain will join us. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Mo knows insurance and financial services, so give him a call today, 785-273-1572. Before we get to our 2 news stories today, a couple of updates from previous What is Wrong with You submissions. First, remember the John Doe, the NFL fan, suing the league over Shedeur Sanders being drafted in the 5th round
I do.
instead of the 1st round? Apparently, that fan has filed an emergency motion in the lawsuit for early and targeted discovery, seeking, among other things, emails and text messages between and among a broad range of team and league officials regarding Sanders, scouting reports, draft boards, internal assessments, and interview notes regarding Sanders, video and audio recordings of team meetings, draft room communications, or NFL scouting combine sessions involving Sanders, and a 61-page arbitration report in conjunction with the NFLPA that found evidence of collusion against black quarterbacks. So We said at the time this John Doe seemed like a joker, but like he kind of knows what he's doing here. It's still going to get thrown out. He's not going to get access to any of this stuff, but he like knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he clearly. I mean, it's gone farther than I thought it would.
Yes.
Although I do feel like he has a little bit less of a leg to stand on now that I believe at least half of the NFL has black quarterbacks, or at least minority quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool that it happened really quickly, like overnight. Whoa, that happened fast.
Yeah, the Giants might have one week one for the first time in their entire existence as a franchise. Also, an update on the Delco Pooper story. You may remember that one in Philadelphia area.
How can I forget?
Yeah, the road rage incident. Woman hauled off, got out of her car, and dropped a deuce on the hood of somebody else's vehicle. We now know the identity of the person who videotaped that incident. He is a 17-year-old named Greg Ferrari. And I just felt like that was funny enough to share.
Greg Ferrari.
A definitely real name of a definitely real person. All right, 2 news stories today. Our current weekly champion, go bold or go home. That's Del Taco's slogan, apparently. Nice. Florida man was not happy that they wouldn't make him tacos at closing time at a Del Taco, so he broke the window with a pipe. 2 news stories. Brendan, go first.
All right, we're going down to Florida, where a married couple, Ryan Cook and Kimberly Morey, were at the Where's Jubes bar, that's its name, in St. Petersburg when they were arrested for a charge of disorderly conduct. What happened? Well, let me tell you. According to a witness, Cook placed his hand up his wife's dress and touched her private parts.
Maybe he was looking for Jubes.
Which reportedly caused a disturbance and a breach of the peace. Morey was then charged for allowing her husband to place his hand up her dress and engage in sexual conduct on the sidewalk out in front of the restaurant.
That would breach my peace if I had to see 2 strangers doing that in front of a bar.
They've each been charged with disorderly conduct, misdemeanor disorderly conduct. Oh, yeah, and possession of an open container. They were both carrying Captain Morgan.
Sure they were.
Yeah. They pled no contest and paid $500 fines. Then we're let out of jail.
Wait till you get in the car.
Dude, or like go a bathroom, a car, anywhere.
Down a sidewalk.
Ugh.
That is definitely a breach of peace. Anyway, my story today is a wild one. A New York man who attempted to have a romantic rival killed and his body fed to pigs pled guilty in federal court to the deranged plot. 57-year-old Gilles Sutherland entered a guilty plea after being charged with using an interstate commerce facility in a murder-for-hire scheme. He was arrested back in January following an investigation by the FBI that began when a man who eventually became an FBI informant for the agency set fire to a car in November because Sutherland asked him to do it. Here's the story. Sutherland asked the informant, the eventual informant, to set fire to a car which belonged to the mother of an incarcerated man who had had a child with Sutherland's current girlfriend.
Whoa.
Okay, so we got a love triangle here. We have Sutherland, we have his girlfriend, and we have Sutherland's girlfriend's baby daddy who's behind bars.
Okay.
Sutherland wanted the mother of the baby daddy to have her car lit on fire because she was scheduled to testify at a custody hearing for the child, and Sutherland sought to prevent her from attending. The informant said there were bigger plans for the incarcerated man. Sutherland wanted the man dead upon his January release from prison, and he wanted him gone. Specifically, he intended to dispose of the body at a hog farm in Pennsylvania.
There's some Tiger King stuff.
The informant began recording conversations with Sutherland during which they discussed the plans. The informant told Sutherland, I have a van I can rent for like $250 from a nun. We take him to a farm and let the hogs eat him.
God.
Sutherland told the informant that his then girlfriend had different plans for the man. However, he also noted that she would fold like an accordion if she was ever questioned. Sutherland later expressed his desire to be less involved in the actual crime, telling the informant, I don't want to know anything about it, but he would still like to see proof that his target was dead.
Coward.
In another conversation recorded, the informant told Sutherland he was going to need to be paid $250 for the van and $1,000 for the hog farmer. He also told Sutherland he would burn the van to destroy the evidence. As time to carry out the plot got closer, the FBI followed the informant as he cashed a check from Sutherland. An undercover agent also acted as a potential hog farmer who met with both the informant and Sutherland and told Sutherland he would require additional payment up front for the use of his farm, the agreed upon price, a good bottle of bourbon.
Sure.
Finally, on January 26th, Sutherland and the informant met for breakfast, went together to a bowling alley. The informant told Sutherland he needed to be paid. He was given an Easy Pass transponder, a bottle of wild turkey bourbon for the hog farmer, and $1,450 cash. At that point, Sutherland was taken into FBI custody. During a hearing, Sutherland also admitted to leaving a dead Canadian goose on the doorstep of his target's mother with a threatening note in the beak. So,
a lot happening here.
Here's a lesson. People don't want to help you do crime.
No.
If people express a desire to help you do crime, to help you do things like carry out a hit, hide a body, destroy evidence, they don't actually want to help you do that.
No.
Like, if they are not your bestest friend in the world, no stranger, no person you've never met, oh, yeah, I got a hog farm. I'll let you hide some evidence on my hog farm. No, that person is working with the FBI.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, not great here. That one wins. That wins the week. I have no qualms about that one.
Okay. Does the dead man, the hog farm, the nun, and the good bottle of bourbon beat... Yeah, I think
that takes the cake.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Who's going to feed the body to pigs? That's our winner on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Michael Swain joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly. We are joined in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. Again, his outstanding coverage of the Jayhawks available at Fog.net. Subscribe to the 24/7 Sports Network and get all of the inside VIP info. Michael, Darian Williams is out of the draft. What are Kansas's chances at this point of landing the former Texas Tech Red Raider and maybe closing the circle on building this roster for Bill Self's team for 2025-26?
Yeah, this is one that obviously I think we've talked about in the past. It's been a little bit of an interesting recruitment, For a while, the word was, hey, he's focused on the draft. That doesn't mean that his agent isn't doing his due diligence behind the scenes talking to colleges, because KU's been linked with him for a while. NC State's obviously been involved for a while, and Ohio State as well. So today is not the start of his recruitment. Let's be clear about that. But I think KU's got a good shot. Look, in this day and age, I think a lot of things come down to money. And based on some of the stuff I've heard today, I think that's going to kind of be the big thing we're going to talk about. I don't know how much necessarily the X's and O's and fit and all that stuff is going to matter as much as it is, am I going to play a lot? Is the team going to win? And can I make a decent amount of money? And so, look, that's been a big theme. You can look at the Dom Sar recruitment, right? Dude comes in with a bigger offer. He gets there. It's been a thing across college basketball right now. So I think that's going to be the kind of final stage. And look, there's a dead period coming up starting tonight at midnight. So there's no more visits that can happen after tonight at midnight. So that would definitely, I think, give a time frame for someone to make a decision. Is he going to decide after? I don't know. Like, we're going to have to wait and see. I think so much right now is unpredictable. You kind of just have to say, we'll wait and see, because they could agree on something and it could work out. They could, get close to agreeing and say they need more time. It's just hard to predict right now. But I do know, KU's very much involved, and this is one of those where you got to watch it closely, because this is really looks like one of the last big shots for KU to get a really coveted transfer portal prospect.
How does what Williams would bring to the roster complement your other two best guys, which for this KU team are of course, Darren Peterson and Flory Badunga? How does Williams' skill set complement and fit alongside the two of them?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting fit, because I think you could see Williams playing the 4. Obviously, he's a little bit of a, he's not your, kind of 4 who's 6'8", is kind of, athletic. He moves all right, but he's more of a skilled player, and I think he'd offer KU some versatility. He's someone that can play in the post, and I don't know if Flory Badunga is going to take a gigantic leap to become a huge post presence, so he would offer that for KU. I think for me, the most attractive part about this addition would be just the fact that he can play on or off the ball. I know this is something we've talked about in the past, how with Darren Peterson, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. But you also don't want it to be a situation where he has to have the ball in his hands a lot. And I think someone like Williams, could provide KU some of that. He was a pretty good creator for Texas Tech, averaged over 3 assists per game last year. He's a guy that can create for others. He's also a guy that can get his own shot. He's also a guy that can, perform pretty well on catch and shoot opportunities. There's a game last year against KU where, what do you make, 6 threes, something like that. I don't have the stats in front of me, but his 3-point shooting percentage did go down last year. Now, obviously, he was a little bit hurt to end of the year. The year before, his 3-point percentage was much better, kind of 37, 38%. And I think that's kind of what you're hoping to get from him, is someone that can consistently knock down threes, can give you a little bit of ball handling, can give you a little bit, maybe a post presence on offense. And then defensively, I don't think he's going to be a Kevin McCullough type of defender, but I think he's someone that would at least provide KU some good team defense, a guy that can be in the right spots, and a guy that also can be a good defensive rebounder.
Michael Swain is our guest. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. If you're not a VIP already, you're missing out on all the best insight into what's going on with KU athletics. Michael joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. You mentioned Adama Sarr a few moments ago, the Italian prospect. Things have really quieted down on that front, at least publicly. Last week, the vibes were great about that recruitment, and then suddenly it felt like the winds shifted violently in another direction. What happened there? Was it as simple as somebody else probably came in with a bigger bag and made him reconsider, or were there other things going on behind the scenes?
I'm not joking. That was just last week.
Yeah. Last Tuesday we talked about that.
Oh, wow. Alrighty. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, it was last Wednesday. Yeah. So, okay. So basically, Dame Sarr visits KU. The indications are given to Kansas that, hey, he wants to go to KU. And so there was some final stuff going on with negotiations. I don't know if you guys are very familiar with European soccer. Agents in European soccer get 2 fees. They get a fee from the player. They get a fee from the club. That's the expectation there. And that, I think, is what the expectation was from Dame Sarr's agent. That was something that they were still working on, figuring out how that was going to work. And the ball was in Sarr's court, right? He had the documents, he had the contract to sign, and he didn't. And then all of a sudden it would have been, last Tuesday night, Duke kind of starts getting word that, Cedric Coward is going to stay in the draft because he's having one heck of a combine. And Duke pivots, and they go to Dame Sarr and say, we'll up this offer for you, and we'll give you the chance to come here and basically have the role that we promised Cedric Coward. And that's something that he plans on taking. I think he is in or on Duke's campus right now for an official visit. Look, it's over. He'll sign there. It'll be a done deal. And that's one that just got away from KU. And look, I think sometimes in recruiting you need luck, and KU just did not get very much luck there. They needed Cedric Coward to have a bad combine. And it just so happens that I think Coward maybe had one of the best combine weeks in terms of stock rising out of anybody there. So definitely for KU, kind of a bummer of a circumstance, because I think Sarr would have been a great fit, great talent. But yeah, so that's one that just kind of got away from KU.
If it doesn't work out with Williams, and it certainly might not at this point. I mean, there's a lot of variables still at play there, obviously.
Totally.
Where does KU turn? Is it then to the European market? Is it you hope that you can get someone who fell in between the cracks who entered the draft? What would the backup plan be at that point?
Yeah, I really think it probably would come down to the European ranks and figuring out a Euro guy that, maybe is testing the draft right now and maybe is looking to get some money in college. That's something that is kind of crazy now, where college basketball, you make more money in college than you would play in Euro ball. And that's even at like a high level.
Wild.
And so that is something that I think a lot of these kids are taking advantage of. That's why so many of those guys are coming over the States. And even with that said, some of these guys that are coming over from Europe are bargains compared to what you could get out of the portal. The portal is highly, I don't want to say overvalued, but guys that are in the portal are asking for a lot more money than some of these kids from overseas who actually have good playing experience, and some decent leagues. So I think that's probably where KU would go. I really don't know if, I think Jameer Watkins from Florida State's one that's still in the draft and maybe has some eligibility. I'm not sure if KU would be interested there. Definitely no interest in RJ Louis. So yeah, I really do think it'd be something that they'd probably go international and try and find a guy there.
Corbin Allen is the newest member of the KU basketball roster. Kansas City kid, went to Oak Park, same high school as Ochai Agbaji and plenty of KU kids over the year. In fact, he broke Ochai's all-time Oak Park scoring record.
Yeah.
I know that I have seen a lot of, wow, maybe he's the next Ochai or Frank Mason or one of these underrated guards who really blows up. Is it more likely, based on what I'm hearing, that you should probably consider him a program guy? Not that that's bad. I mean, that's awesome for him. I'm sure he'll get a little cash for that. But should we expect that he's just going to be a kind of a program guy?
Yeah, I would say what you're going to call it now is a modern day walk-on, and that is not a bad situation, right? He's going to get to go to Kansas. He's going to be a part of the Kansas basketball program, and you're right, he'll make some good money. Is he someone that is going to be a rotation player as a sophomore? Probably not. Is he something, type of player maybe in his third year, his redshirt junior, maybe could he crack the rotation? Maybe. But if so, that's totally gravy. I think you're seeing colleges right now looking and giving opportunities to guys who are going to be very inexpensive because, again, we're kind of in the roster cap era where you've got very much like the NBA. What you could call this, it's like a veteran minimum, basically. And it's a guy that is going to go bust his tail in practice every day. It's a guy that has some developmental upside. Like, he's not a bad basketball player. You don't go break Ochai Agbaji's scoring record. You don't win the award for the best, basketball prospect in KC by being a slouch. He's a good basketball player. But again, we're talking about Kansas basketball here. And I think KU's going to continue to recruit high-level prospects. And it's just a question of over time, can he get to the point where, hey, can he be a ninth guy on your bench as a junior or senior? I'm not going to rule that out, but this is one of those types of situations where I think he's a great program guy, the right type of personality you want to add, and whatever sort of benefits you get from him playing basketball at KU in meaningful games, that's totally great because I think you're expecting him to come in, really help elevate the program, really help elevate the guys who are playing, game in, game out, and just really help the program in that way, maybe more so than you'd see it, if you're thinking about like a Frank Mason or Devontae, where over 4 years they really improve and all of a sudden they're in the NBA.
Just a couple more questions for Michael Swain of Fog.net, joining us here on Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk this Tuesday afternoon, like he does every Tuesday at this time. Wanted to flip over to football, and man, there's a lot going on with KU football right now. Added a JUCO offensive lineman this week. J.J. Dunnigan officially announces he's shutting it down. He's committed all the way to KU. All great news. But I wanted to ask you, and you'll have to correct me on his name here, about four-star running back Corey Amatry, who is from Michigan. Know that Michigan State's been recruiting him hard. I know KU has been recruiting him hard. He's going to make his college announcement coming up on Friday this week. He's got a wild list of offers. Michigan State, KU, Duke, Pitt, Indiana, and Harvard on the list. So smart kid too, apparently. Where is KU trending there? Because you can add that kind of running back talent to this scheme offensively for KU. Feel like that's a pretty good fit. So where does KU land right now with the four-star tailback?
Yeah, I think KU's in a good spot. I think they really are. That's something that, we talked a little bit on the message board on Sunday, I want to say. It's something where you look at the relationship that, KU has with the kid, and it's it's crazy. Terrence Samuel has known the family for basically as long as Corey's been alive. And he's a really close friend of Drayden Samuel, Terrence Samuel's kid. And so they've basically known the family for a long time. They're close family friends. And that's a really important relationship here where you look at Michigan State, he's been there double-digit times. He's from just up the road. But it is a relationship with Samuel. And I think the fact that he knows and his family knows that if he goes to KU, he's going to have a home and guys that can take care of him and really look after him. And so I think that's a really important part of this thing is the relationship aspect. And of course, like we can talk about the football aspect, Lance Leipold, running backs have really performed well in his scheme over time. And so that's definitely a positive recruiting pitch here as well. So look, I think this is one of those where obviously things can change, but right now I really like KU's chances. I think Crystal Ball and 24/7 Sports reflects that. And obviously we'll have to see what happens Friday, but right now I really do like KU's chances.
Last one for you, Michael. KU baseball finishes up second in the Big 12 conference, controversially, as they were the only team in the conference to win 20 games this season. Dan Fitzgerald today named the Big 12 Baseball Coach of the Year. What are their chances down at Globe Life Field to go and win a Big 12 tournament championship? And are they looking at the possibility? It'd be hard to be one of the regional hosts, but could they get as high as a 2 seed?
Yeah, so I think big week for them, honestly. And I think one of the underrated parts of this is getting that bye. Where now, and Fitzgerald talked about it yesterday, KU can treat this like a 3-game series where they're not having to think about a 4th game potentially if you didn't have the bye. So this is very much just a 3-game series for KU. And look, they'll play Oklahoma State or Baylor, who are 2 very solid teams. But I really do think KU's got a chance to go make a run. And I think that if they're able to win the Big 12 tournament, obviously I think they're going to be pretty locked into a 2 seed. And then it's a question of, could they host? I don't know about that, but I really think that KU could go a long way in securing a 2 seed and really helping themselves with the NCAA tournament just around the corner.
For all coverage of KU athletics, go check out fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Become a VIP subscriber for the inside information on everything we've talked about today from Michael Swain on Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great. Talk to you guys then.
That is Michael Swain. We will take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk next. .455 on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks again to Michael Swain for joining us for Jayhawk Weekly. Always great to catch up with Michael. And again, lots of inside info percolating If you're a VIP subscriber right now, it's a great time to jump in on that over at 24/7 Sports. Big 12 baseball tournament coming up. Going to be a great opportunity for KU and an opportunity for K-State coming in as the 6th seed. Action starts tomorrow. K-State plays Houston at 8 p.m. Final game of the night. 7:30 pregame, 8 o'clock first pitch right here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. We'll bring you the Batcats as we are able to throughout the Big 12 tournament. The single elimination format this year, which I actually really like a lot.
Yeah, I like that too. Adds a little bit more juice to it, obviously. K-State's in. It sounds like there's not really a whole lot of question there. Unlike a couple, 2 years ago where they were left out because their RPI was terrible, but their record was good, especially late. Total flip that they struggled early in Big 12 play. We went over that on the show. The RPI is really good, top 40, I believe, in the country, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're solidly in, but certainly can help their seeding or their regional with a couple of wins this weekend. I wouldn't put it past KU to win the thing. It's certainly possible.
Not at all.
Especially with the way West Virginia, the 1 seed, has been playing.
Yeah, they got to win three in a row. And it was an interesting point that Michael Swain made. You can just, when you have the double elimination format, you might have to play 2 games on the same day. You have to end up playing 2 games for the championship on the same day. The teams were getting their pitching staff slagged, and it I think it hurt teams at times going into the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, I like this format a lot. I think this will benefit the Big 12. I think it will benefit the teams in it, particularly teams like KU and K-State, who already have a good feeling that they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about NCAA quarterback tiers, according to one ESPN writer. We'll preview Game 2 of the Royals-Giants series. We'll do our 580 Sports Talk headlines, including my hater's guide to the NBA Western Conference Finals and the Playoff Roundup on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon in the capital city. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for making us a part of your Tuesday. Dan Lucero, Brendan Wrzinski here with 580 Sports Talk on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and live on video, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. The Facebook page is WIBW News. Check us out on the YouTube stream. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. You can go over to YouTube in your web browser, your mobile device. Search for 580 Sports Talk. That's our channel. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already. And you can watch the program and jump in the live chat, interact with our listeners throughout the show. We want to hear from you in the final hour of this program. Text line also open if you'd like to shoot us a text. The number is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. We got one more hour of the show today. Royals baseball, once again, will be on the air at 8 p.m. tonight with pregame coverage and an 8:45 first pitch from Oracle Park in San Francisco as the Royals and the Giants play Game 2 of their 3-game interleague series. Michael Lorenzen on the bump for the Royals against the Giants' Hayden Birdsong. We'll get into that a little bit later on this hour. We're also going to talk about a tier ranking of the quarterback situations for every Division I football team, FBS, from David Hale of ESPN. And to say that we can't make heads or tails of how the tiers came to be ranked themselves is being polite. Like, I really have no idea what to make of how Mr. Hale put this list of quarterback tiers together. But I know this, it's very disrespectful to Avery Johnson. Like, very disrespectful.
Extremely.
To Avery Johnson. We're going to get into that a little bit, talk a little college football later on this hour. Plus, of course, your text, 785-272-9429, and your comments on the live stream on YouTube. But right now, let's get into some 580 Sports Talk headlines, shall we? We will start our 580 Sports Talk headlines with a very local headline. This came down last night from our friend Rick Peterson at TopSports.News. Mike Williams steps down after Banner's 7-year run with Highland Park boys basketball. Running Scots will be looking for a new head coach after Michael Williams decided to call it good on a 7-year run that included 5 Class 5A state tournament appearances and a runner-up state finish this past season. Williams became the head coach at Highland Park in 2018. It was his first coaching job after spending many years as an assistant coach, most notably at Topeka West under Rick Bloomquist. His first year, Highland Park went 3-18. Then they didn't stop winning after that. Went to 5 state tournaments in 6 years and got progressively closer to capturing a state championship for Highland Park, falling in overtime to Cape and Mount Carmel in the state title game this past March. They were 71-4 over the last 3 seasons, and 3 of the 4 games they lost the last 3 years were to the eventual state champion in the state tournament. He was the Shawnee County Boys Basketball Coach of the Year the last 3 years, according to TopSports.News. His oldest son, Mikey, or Michael Jr., is a graduate of Highland Park and is going to play at Barton Community College to continue his basketball career. Michael also has a daughter, Micah, who is lighting up the scoreboard for Highland Park soccer this year. She scored about 40 goals this season.
Yeah,
just a preposterous number and just a sophomore. So obviously some great things still ahead for Micah Williams. But this is one that I got to say on a personal level is a bummer because I really like Michael Williams a lot. I've really enjoyed dealing with him and working with him and calling games for Highland Park this past handful of years when he's been the head coach. We are so fortunate out here to have in this city, in Topeka, great people coaching the football and the boys and girls basketball programs. And it's obviously there you have turnover, but I have never dealt with anyone in the city and I've been here since 2016 that I have felt like I've gotten crossways with, or felt like wasn't in it for the right reasons, or was disrespectful, or was not a proper leader of young men and young women. We're so fortunate, and the youth in this city are so fortunate. And a guy like Michael Williams is just a perfect example of somebody who's in this, doing this for all the right reasons, wanting to be a leader of men as much as he wants to be a successful basketball coach. I think the world of Michael. I think that the city's basketball scene is poorer without him. He did tell Pistol that he does plan to coach again at some point, and I'll be looking forward to that day when he returns to the sideline, wherever that may be. And wherever he does return to the sideline is going to be very, very fortunate, just as Highland Park was the last 7 years, to be represented on their bench by Michael Williams.
Yeah, I got to obviously know Michael a little bit during 3 years doing our high school basketball as well here at the station. And just a great guy, always very generous with his time. Awesome interview, a lot of fun to be around. Back when and hopefully again someday, but back when the Coaches Show was a live event, would come out every week. He was always there, wanted to be among the camaraderie of the coaches, wanted to be there with me face to face and to talk face to face about his team. And I remember very vividly, and I just share this really quickly to kind of illustrate the kind of person and leader that Michael is. I remember getting ready for the Pigskin and Hoops magazine one year when we were still printing it and on paper physically, and talking to him about his team and him talking about all the things that he was doing and doing with the program at Highland Park and encouraging his players to do to get ready for college basketball and to try to put themselves out there like, hey, I want, make sure you're getting good grades and you're doing good things in the community and you're working hard. And I am going to do everything I can to talk to people I know, to reach out to people around the college sports world to help you get to where you want to go, to reach those dreams or to get places where maybe you thought you weren't going to be able to go. I thought it spoke volumes about him as a person, as a leader. And again, I'll miss covering him. He's a great dude and a hell of a basketball coach. So big shout out to Michael Williams. What a run at Highland Park for a Topeka guy, too.
Yes. Topeka, somebody who is Topeka to represent one of the crown jewel programs in the city, one of the crown jewel sports programs in the city, Highland Park boys basketball, and have had the run of success that they had. They maybe didn't hang the big banner, but everybody knows that was a program that had returned to glory after he had the standards had slipped a little bit after Ken Darting left the program. And wasn't a one person's fault. It's really hard to be the guy that follows the guy.
Yep.
Jason Jones was the guy that followed the guy, and I liked Jason, but that's a hard position to be in, especially in a place where the standards are so high, like Highland Park. Michael Williams took over, and again, year one, they won 3 games, and that is not what you expect and not what you look to have happen for Highland Park boys basketball. But they rolled with the punches. They built the program. They were super young that year. A lot of those guys went on to go play in state tournaments, and they were one of the best programs in the state, regardless of class, this last handful of years. And it will be different next year, regardless of who's on the sideline, because they did graduate so much from that second place team in 5A last year. But Michael, on the off chance you're listening, Godspeed. Great working with you. Best of luck in whatever's next, and look forward to seeing you on the sidelines again at some point.
First headline for me today. Let's go to the National Football League. This is according to every NFL reporter, because they all got the information at the exact same time from Joe Thuney's agent. But former Kansas City Chiefs offensive lineman, left guard Joe Thuney, has agreed to a contract extension with his new team, the Chicago Bears. It is a 2-year extension for $35 million total in 26 and 27, those seasons. He will now make $51 million in total value over the next 3 years, this upcoming season included. $33.5 million is guaranteed during that time. Joe Thuney obviously is a whale of a player, getting compensated justly a little bit above I don't know if this makes him the highest paid guard in the league, but he's right up there. First team All-Pro each of the last 2 seasons. Also twice a second team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler. Were you aware that he received votes for Offensive Player of the Year this year?
No.
Were you aware of that? Because he finished 10th.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And granted, only let me go find 18 guys received votes. 19 actually ended up receiving votes. Joe Thuney got more votes for Offensive Player of the Year than Patrick Mahomes. That's a real thing.
What a world.
He got more votes. Even more amazing, given what the NFL landscape looked like this season, he got more votes for Offensive Player of the Year than Jaden Daniels.
Incredible.
Yeah. He got 4, but still more than Mahomes and Daniels combined, in fact. Yeah, pretty amazing stuff for Joe Thuney. So he is now justly compensated. He is right now 32 years old. He will turn 33 in November. So this will take him through age 35 if he plays out the entirety of this now extended 3-year remaining contract. Will he get to that point? I don't know, but he has been one of the best guards in the NFL. Steady, soft-spoken, team leader, good locker room guy. Bears needed to do this. This was a no-brainer after they traded a early day 3 pick to get him. The Chiefs then flipped that pick during this year's draft. Was that part of which trade? That must have been part of the Noel Williams trade.
I believe
right.
It
was to move up and get Noel Williams. So good piece of business by Kansas City as well. But yeah, Joe Thuney getting paid. And that's good business. You had to get that done for Chicago.
Well deserved, no question about it. And I do like what the Bears have done as far as going after offensive line, prioritizing that, making sure Caleb Williams is more comfortable with the guys protecting him, because I believe he was sacked 62 times last year, something in that vein.
Yes. Fun fact about Caleb Williams, and for the record, I've said this before, even though he plays for the Bears, I think Caleb Williams is going to be a very good NFL quarterback at some point. We were talking earlier about the Patrick Mahomes video cut up from content creator on Twitter, and he did it for all the big name quarterbacks in the NFL. He also did some stat charting out of it, like, percentage of catchable ball, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
Caleb Williams ranked 32nd out of 33 eligible quarterbacks last year in catchable balls thrown 20 yards to the air. Second to last.
Not what you want.
Not what you want.
A lot of that is you're throwing them off your back foot or you're throwing them under duress.
Yeah.
And that can change if guys like Joe Thuney play to career levels.
I was watching something from Nate Tice the other day. Nate Tice of Yahoo. He was doing some Caleb Williams clips online, right? He was writing a piece about him, so he's posting these clips. There's some Caleb Williams throws where you say, yup, that is the dude that won the Heisman. Mm-hmm. That is the dude that bumped 5-star Spencer Rattler to the bench at Oklahoma midseason. That is all the talent in the world. Unfortunately, it was called back due to a hold on the left guard who just grabbed a dude by the face mask and threw him to the ground because he didn't know what he was doing. Just atrocious offense last year for the Bears. I think they will be better this year. I'm pretty confident in that, in fact.
Next headline for me, we're going to the Big 12 Baseball Awards from Big12Sports.com. UC's crossed, UH's Gene highlight 2025 yearly Big 12 Baseball Awards. Your player of the year in the conference, Carrington Cross, infielder, University of Cincinnati, led the Big 12, batting .414 in 51 games, looking to become the second qualified Big 12 player to hit at least 400 in a season since 2011. The pitcher of the year, actually a reliever, first time that's ever been the case in Big 12 history, Antoine Jean, and I apologize if I'm getting that correct, out of Houston, struck out 14.9 batters per 9 innings and allowed just 5.1 hits per 9 innings. That is dominance out of the back end of the Houston Cougar bullpen. Your co-newcomers of the year, Arizona State's Matt King and Oklahoma State's Harrison Bodendorf. Freshman of the year, TCU outfielder Sawyer Strasnider. And the coach of the year in the Big 12, Dan Fitzgerald from the University of Kansas, who has already taken the Jayhawks to the most wins in program history. Before the conference tournament even begins, 42 wins for KU on the diamond, their most ever. 20 road wins, 20 Big 12 wins. Both of those are program records as well. As for individual honors from KU and K-State, Brady Bollinger, the only Jayhawk or Wildcat to earn a first-team nod as an infielder for the Jayhawks. Big 12 second-team picks for Kansas. I'm going to get the name wrong, and I apologize. Jackson Hauge from KU. I think it's Hauge, the outfielder. Dario Osoria, designated hitter, and Cooper Moore, one of the KU starting pitchers. K-State represented on the All-Big 12 second team by infielder Maximus Martin and outfielder Keegan O'Connor. Again, There was also a all-freshman team. AJ Avasco from Kansas State was named to that roster. So those are your Big 12 baseball honors with, again, the Big 12 baseball tournament beginning tomorrow. K-State is the 6th seed. They play Houston at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. You can hear that game right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 with pregame coverage at 7:30. KU is the number 2 seed. They await the winner between Baylor and Oklahoma State and will play on Thursday.
I mean, Dan Fitzgerald has to be the coach of the year nationally, right? Like, I don't follow college baseball that closely. I keep tabs on KU. I'll watch a little of the postseason stuff. I'm just, it's not my thing generally, but I'm excited for KU. I've been watching the Jayhawks when I can this year. This is not a baseball powerhouse. This is a team, again, before the conference tournament, has already won more games and more conference games than it ever has in program history. I mean, how is he not at a school where baseball is, let's be frank, an afterthought until this year, maybe a little bit into last year? I think he's got to be your national coach of the year.
I would be surprised if it goes to anyone else.
Yeah, it's been incredible. One quick opinion, if I may, on KU baseball.
Sure.
And this is no one's fault in particular, and it's not Rich Price's fault by any means. Rich Price got extremely lucky that athletic directors kept getting fired at Kansas and kept not being very good at their jobs, because this is proof that just like, oh yeah, KU's like fine. They're like watchable, I guess. They'll win. They'll finish above 500 once in a while. Like, yeah, that's good enough. Dan Fitzgerald's clearly an amazing coach. There's no doubt about it, but like, it did not have to be mediocrity for as long as it was at the end of Rich Price's tenure.
No.
This could have been a more competitive program years ago.
Want to really matters. And when you decide you want to be good and you divert the resources to being good and you hire people who are invested in being good, then you can be good.
And however the postseason ends up going, by the way, I want to give a shout out to those KU fans and students who have showed up pretty much every game all year, even during the occasional slump, because that, you want to talk about want to, when your fans want to be good, that makes an impact, especially at a small stadium. The Hoagland Ballpark's not very big.
No.
It is quite small, in fact.
I've taken in some games there, an intimate setting.
Yes. So it's, big shout out to the KU baseball program, what they've been able to do this year. Next one for me, let's get to a collection of college basketball headlines today. We'll start with KU again. Talked about this a little bit earlier, but per John Rothstein, now confirmed everywhere else. Former Texas Tech Red Raider Darian Williams has officially withdrawn from the 2025 NBA draft. He was originally, at least the other day going into the combine, projected by Sam Vecini of The Athletic to be the number 39 overall pick in his mock draft. Then he had a bad combine. He was one of those guys where, okay, if he's even decent at the combine, good measurables, good workouts and whatnot, he's probably going to stay in the draft. And then he did not have a good combine. Measurables weren't elite by any means, did not play well in the scrimmages. Why don't you go back to college for a little bit? And that is what he is going to end up doing. He's one of the best players now available. He entered the portal before entering the draft. According to Jeff Goodman of a number of different places, he, for Darian Williams, is deciding or likely deciding between KU and North Carolina State, which has a whole lot of money. They've got Will Wade, who is not afraid to throw it around. And Andrew Slater is their head of basketball ops, essentially. He worked for 24/7 for a long time. That is the most connected man in college basketball, Andrew Slater. That was a crazy hire by Will Wade, like crazy good. That's quite a battle. I know Ohio State is in the mix as well because he's from Ohio. If he goes to KU, that's the final piece. Like, that is exactly what Bill Self is looking for. I think there's a pretty good chance of it. Not like a guarantee by any means. I thought Damasar had a great chance going to KU as well. That's not going to happen.
That was at the 1 yard line and didn't get done, though.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, got stopped at the 1. That's tough. But possibly good news for KU on the transfer portal front. Speaking of Texas Tech basketball, Grant McCasland, their head coach, this has already been announced by the school, has signed a 6-year contract extension through the 2030-2031 season. I don't know if we'll all be around by that point, but if we are, he'll be signed to Texas Tech through then. Here, Dan, is the fascinating part of this. If you'd like, I think you can call this the Baylor clause. So this has been reported on by the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, the local newspaper there. Grant McCaslin's extension includes a new buyout clause. The buyout is 60% of his remaining salary if he takes a job at another school in the state of Texas. It's only 40% if he takes a job outside of Texas. Call that the Baylor Bears clause.
I think so.
Also, one other note from college basketball. This is a big one for the reigning national champions. They are bringing back their starting center, Ruben Chinyalu. This is Florida, again, national champions. He is going to return for his senior season. He was a transfer previously. Also, Arkansas transfer Boogie Fland, kind of pushed, former 5-star. He was pushed out of the point guard room with Darius Acuff coming in for Cal at Arkansas. He has also transferred to Florida.
Pretty
good get for them.
Yeah, really good get
Talented player.
For Todd Golden. All right, let us get into the playoff roundup. There were no games last night, so we've got previews on the playoff roundup.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
On Frozen Pond, the Eastern Conference Finals begin tonight as the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, visit the Carolina Hurricanes. We're going to play a quick game here, Brendan, because we're not going to pretend we're knowledgeable about how this series is going to go. We're going to actually kind of underline that. I'm going to name a player who will play for one of the teams in this series. You're going to name a player back. We're going to see how long we can go. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Matthew Tkachuk.
Which series is this?
This is the Florida-Carolina series.
Florida-Carolina. Eric Stahl.
I do not think he is still an active player. That was a quick win for me.
I remember Eric Stahl.
Yeah, I think he skated around the cup when Carolina won in the mid-2000s.
In 2006? Yeah, that's about when I stopped paying attention to hockey.
You could have given me Brad Marchand.
Yes, that's right. He's in Florida. He got traded this year.
Mm-hmm.
They got a bunch of dirty players, don't they, in Florida?
Brad Marchand,
yeah.
Sam Bennett, also a dirty player.
Okay, I know Sam Bennett. I've heard that name.
Yeah, dirty player.
Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricane Hugo, 1989. That was a Carolina Hurricane.
Would have accepted Sebastian Aho, Logan Stankoven.
Oh, you're thinking of Sebastian Bach. He was a rock artist, actually.
That is not who I'm thinking of. I don't have much more outside of the names I just gave you.
How many can you do from the other series?
From Edmonton, Dallas?
Yeah.
I can do a lot of Dallas guys because I watched that series. And I can do Edmonton's like 5 good players.
Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
Leon Draisaitl.
There you go. You're rolling.
Wayne Gretzky.
We were going to do this tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I burned Gretzky, so.
For game 1 of the Western Conference Series.
I feel bad. Like everyone, playoff hockey, game 7 hockey. I love it. I watched game 7 the other night, man. Honest to God, it was 1-1, went to overtime. And I'm not trying to harsh anyone else's buzz. Like, I'm glad you all enjoy it. But, like, I have mentally decided, like, it's not for me. Like, the sport's just not for me.
But that's fine.
Although, that's not to say I'm not excited about the Scarecrows, because I'm very excited about the Scarecrows. NHL, though, I have too many other things going on. I cannot commit.
All right. The NBA tonight, the Western Conference Finals began. The number 1 seed, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the number 6 seed, Minnesota Timberwolves, back in the finals for the second straight year. If the Denver Nuggets, my favorite team, were playing in these finals, you would get a full-scale preview. They are not, so you get a roast instead. Without any further ado, the Haters Guide to the Western Conference Finals. The Minnesota Timberwolves, the biggest losers in a city full of colossal losers. The Twins lost 10 of 11 playoff series. The Wild have lost 8 straight first-round series. The Vikings never won a Super Bowl. And the Timberwolves have never been to an NBA Finals. That city loses out of habit. And that habit will continue because these Timberwolves are unserious. They beat a Lakers team in the first round that had less size than your average NAIA team, and a Warrior team whose best player played one half of basketball in the entire series. Who plays for the Timberwolves? Well, they have Mike Conley, who's 63 years old. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, his initials are NAW, N-A-W, which is what his coaches and teammates say every time he considers shooting the basketball. Jaden McDaniels is the most thunder player on the Timberwolves. Stick around, you'll know why that's not a compliment. People have been calling Julius Randle Unk since he was 19. People are falling for the good games he had against the wounded, dying Warriors like they mean anything. Rudy Gobert, he starts in the middle. He's the classic not good, just tall player. They tried to invent the screen assist stat to convince us that he was more valuable than he actually was. Also, crucially, He's never had a teammate who liked him as a person, and he's the reason COVID-19 happened. I don't like Rudy Gobert. Then we get to Anthony Edwards. People are dying to make the Ant-Man the face of the league because the thing that drives engagement with the NBA is nostalgia, and we have two generations of NBA fans who only like the NBA if the face of the league is a black American. The problem is the best player in the NBA is a doughy Serb, and the second best is Greek, and the third best is a black Canadian, and the fourth best is a doughy Slovene. You get the idea. Anthony Edwards is not the best player in the NBA. And more than that, no punchline here, he's a bad guy. Whether he's begging the women he's knocking up in the offseason to get abortions or slurring gay people in public, he is a bad guy. I understand that he's charismatic and people want to like him. You know who else was charismatic? Ted Bundy. Edwards was terrible in the Western Conference Finals last year because the lights were too bright. He'll be terrible in this series, too. Last offseason, he worked on his shooting. This offseason, he should consider learning how condoms work. Now we get to the Thunder, the best team left standing with the best player left standing, pursuing their second title. And I said second because the Supersonics won in 1979. And the fact that the Thunder and their stupid clip art logo exist instead of the Supersonics is a stain on the NBA to this day. The Thunder play their home games in the second tallest building in the state of Oklahoma, the Paycom Center, and half the people in the stands any given night think they wandered into a mega church. The other half are chanting MVP while their children look up at them and say, "Hey, Daddy, what does that spell?" You ever play pickup basketball at the Y, and there's a guy who shows up wearing all the NBA 2K creative player accessories, and he's way too into playing defense and setting screens? You always leave the gym that night wishing he hadn't shown up, right? Made the experience a little less fun, and you and your buddies rag on him for being a dork. That guy is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are Zoomer tryhards that everybody thinks are corny. Oh, but you wish your team played like that. Hell no, I do not. I'm so glad I don't have to defend my team from the corny dork allegations that the Thunder will never, ever beat. Who plays for the Thunder? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, terrific player, unethical hooper. You'd think watching him flop around and foul bait like he does, he'd be a better actor in all those terrible commercials he's in. Chet Holmgren is 97 pounds and made of tissue paper. Unfortunately for him, when his legs give out in 2 years, he won't have an acting career to fall back on because he's a worse actor than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. Jalen Williams made the All-Star game this year. Hope he enjoyed it. He's never doing that again. Those are the good players on the Thunder. Then you get to the goons. Isaiah Hartenstein. His last name is Hebrew for 6 fouls. He's only good on goon teams. I know because I watched him play for the Denver Nuggets, who play ethical hoops, and he stunk. Then he got to the Knicks, and he was a goon, and he thrived. And now he's thriving as a goon on the Thunder. Lou Dort, another goon, can't actually play basketball. He would lose a skill contest to the best player on your local high school team. Alex Caruso would come in third in that same skills contest. The Thunder should still win the series and hang an NBA champions banner. It's just a shame that children growing up and educated in Oklahoma won't be able to read it. That is your hater's guide to the Western Conference Finals. They tip off tonight. I don't know what time they play. I don't care. We'll take a break, come back with more after this. 536 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Drzinski with you. Color is returning to my face after the last segment. I think I blacked out.
We've all been there.
It felt good. Man, it felt good to get
good.
that. Felt good. Felt cathartic to get that all off of my chest. It's all true.
That's good.
Everything I said. I never lied to the people, not one time. The quarterback tiers in college football. David Hale of ESPN.com put out this list. All 136 FBS teams. We're up to 136 this year. Delaware and Missouri State joining the fray.
In Conference USA. Yes, that classic conference matchup of teams in Delaware and southwestern Missouri.
Classic rivalry. Maybe they'll have a trophy. Maybe Bob Diaco can come up with a trophy for them, like the civil conflict trophy.
I hope so.
That is one of the saddest stories ever, honest to God. That Bob Diaco, when he was the coach at UConn, decided his team needed a rivalry game in their league. They were in the American. So he just cooked one up with UCF and called it the Civil Conflict Trophy because FL and CT, Florida and Connecticut, are in the word conflict. And he had a trophy made. And then UCF won the game and didn't take the trophy. They're like, yeah, whatever. Kind of sad, honest to goodness, like a comedy sketch.
By the way, we should note here, Missouri State to Delaware is not even close to the longest trip in this conference. Sam Houston State, down near Houston itself, is also in the league, as is New Mexico State.
Yeah, New Mexico State should join the new Mountain West.
I don't think they want them. I think that's the problem. No one wants them.
Yeah.
There ain't anything in Las Cruces.
No, there sure isn't.
Including good football.
So anyway, you have the rankings of the quarterbacks by tier. And this is where I will say that generally the groupings of quarterbacks make some sense. You can make me see the vision here. Like the top of the class. And it's supposed to be quarterback situations, but we're really talking about the starters. Let's be honest about that. Clemson, LSU, Oklahoma, Penn State, and South Carolina all have starting quarterbacks returning, or in Oklahoma's case, John Mateer coming in from the transfer portal, that are going to be on a Heisman Trophy shortlist going into the year. Even if I still think Drew Aller and Cade Klubnik both kind of stink. Like, I still don't think they're that good. Aller got better, but...
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of hate this group, to be completely honest with you. I think Klubnik's I think if you run the right plays, I think he can be pretty good. Garrett Nussmeier's pretty good. Sellers, I guess he's good. He
might be the most fun to watch.
That's certainly true. Drew Aller we'll get to it when the season starts. I don't get it. I really don't. I love watching John Mateer. John Mateer is the most fun player in college football. You know what's also really fun about it? He puts the ball in the air and you don't know who's going to catch it. Like which team in which color uniform. I don't. No, he's not a top 5 quarterback in college football. I'm sorry. He's just not.
The second tier right below those guys, Florida, Miami, Texas, DJ Lagway, Arch Manning, Carson Beck. Okay, like Beck was terrible last year. Lagway looks like he could be fun. We all just kind of think Arch Manning is going to be really good, but we don't have the proof of concept yet. We just assume he's going to be awesome.
I kind of believe people I like who, break football down, like Arch a lot. And I'm kind of bullish on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't care if I get burned at some point. You will never, ever get me to buy a Florida starting quarterback. You will not do it. Until you have proof that it's actually going to work, finally, for the first time consistently in years, I'm not buying it. Sorry, DJ Lagway. Not your fault, but
Fair
no.
enough.
Like, dude, look at the list of quarterbacks they have had since
Tebow?
Yeah. Like, it stinks.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett was the best one, and he transferred out.
Felipe Franks.
Jeff Driscoll, Felipe Franks, Malik Zaire. Kyle Trask was fine.
Yeah, Trask probably the best of the bunch.
He was like righty Brad Johnson. Like, yeah, you can win with him. He's not going to do anything special, but you can win with him.
But okay, if you want to tell me that those are the best starting quarterbacks in the NCAA, I don't agree, but okay, fine. Then the next tier has Sam Levitt of Arizona State, Rocco Becht of Iowa State, Sawyer Robertson of Baylor, and Haynes King of Georgia Tech. Those are the next best guys?
Yeah, okay. So
I don't agree.
I am the biggest Rocco Becht supporter outside of Clarinda, Iowa. I like the guy. I think he's fun. I think he regressed a little bit last season. He's tough as hell. I like watching Rocco Becht play. You're telling me he's one of the 11 best quarterbacks in the country? I don't know that I believe in that.
No, you know who I like better? A lot of the guys in tier 3. This is called the buckle up tier. Apparently, the conceit behind this one from David Hale of ESPN. Every projected starter has delivered serious highlights, but for all the success, there are still some minor questions that add a bit of danger to the proceedings. Guys like Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt, Texas Tech's Baron Morton, TCU's Josh Hoover, Duke's Darian Mensah, the Tulane transfer, who I really like.
I like him too.
And Kansas's Jalen Daniels in this tier.
Yeah, I've got no problem with JD being here because when he is healthy, when he is good, he is as good as almost anybody in the country. The problem is he's not always healthy, and the thing that causes him the most problems is a back. That is very worrisome. But at the end of last season, save for the Baylor game, he played really well. In those last 4 or 5 weeks, he was playing really good football. I have no problem with JD being there. That's great. I decided I'm out on Josh Hoover. I'm out on him. I think he's too high here. I like Mensah a lot. I actually like Miller Moss at Louisville a lot. I think that's a really good fit for him. I don't know if he's an NFL guy, but I really like that. I kind of like Baron Morton at Texas Tech.
I liked him as a freshman.
Yeah.
He's been really banged up.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Yeah. Diego Pavia might be the most fun quarterback in the country.
Him and Sellers at South Carolina, probably.
Somebody referred to him last year on Blue Sky during a game. They said, that Pavia is a bleeping stinker. And that's a perfect description of he does the way he runs around. It is. It's like watching your 2-year-old.
You hate to play him.
Yeah, for sure. The next group is 4 teams that have big time freshman recruits. Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Washington. 4 guys who are going to have starters who've never played college football. Then you have a list of quarterbacks who are taking over for established starters who have not played a lot of college football, like Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, Dante Moore at Oregon, Ty Simpson at Alabama. And then you get to the second times the charm tier with the likes of UCLA's Nico Iamaleava, Nebraska's Dylan Raiola, and this is where we find Kansas State's Avery Johnson. And on the one hand, I don't think it's totally out of line given the recruiting pedigree of the players involved to put Johnson in a conversation with Raiola and Iamaleava, where if the expectation is they will be better in their second full season as starters, I can get behind that. 100% I can get behind that. But you're telling me you expect less from Johnson in particular than you do from Gunnar Stockton at Georgia? That is mind-blowing to me.
Or Dante Moore, who was a 5-star but has already flamed out of a bad UCLA program.
Yes.
Bad. You think less of him than, and okay, the 5-star kid's going to the Blue Bloods, whatever. You think less of him than Kevin Jennings? And then Josh Hoover? I don't buy that one bit. The other thing here, too, this is included in the piece. There are 4 Power 4 quarterbacks. Five Power 4 quarterbacks returning this year who a season ago had 32 total touchdowns and 3,200 yards. Garrett Nussmeier, tier 1. Cade Klubnik, tier 1. Sawyer Robertson and Rocco Becht, both tier 2. Robertson's pretty good for what it's worth.
Yeah, I thought he was really good last year.
And then Avery Johnson.
Yeah.
And so what's the difference here? Why is he so low?
To put him 1 tier ahead of guys like Aiden Childs, Michigan State, who I don't think can throw the football, or Chandler Morris at Virginia, who I think is 28 years old.
I can't believe Chandler Morris is still playing, and I can't believe Virginia took a flyer on him. In the next tier too, and this is where even outside of our 2 quarterbacks, it gets to be such a mess. I think Luke Altmaier deserves to be better than Group 7. Fernando Mendoza of Indiana, who's a transfer from Cal, he is being talked about as a top pick in the NFL draft. And that dude is in the 30s or the low 20s into the 30s of best quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, doesn't make a lick of sense to me. If you think a true freshman starter like CJ Carr at Notre Dame is going to outproduce Avery Johnson, I don't know what to tell you. I think that is wrong.
Would you like to know how many tiers there are in total?
Too many.
20.
Yeah, man. Maybe shut it down at some point.
15 through 20 can probably be, don't worry about it.
Maybe you don't need to break down we used to be somebody into 7 different tiers.
No, I do not think that is necessary.
Yeah. maybe a lesson for next time for David Hale. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll preview tonight's game 2 between the Royals and the Giants in San Francisco next on 580 Sports Talk. .549 on 580 Sports Talk. Royals Giants tonight, 8 o'clock pregame coverage, 8:45 first pitch in San Francisco. Michael Lorenzen on the bump tonight. Hayden Birdsong making his first start of the season for the San Francisco Giants. He's pitched well in a relief role so far this year, but this is his first start. He threw 65 pitches his last time out on the 14th, so I wouldn't expect he'd be all the way stretched out. So I'd like to see a patient approach from the Royals early on. Try and get into the middle of that San Francisco bullpen in the 4th or the 5th inning, force Birdsong out of the game, and see what you can do against the middle and the back end of the Giants bullpen. The lineup tonight for Kansas City: Jonathan India DHing and leading off. Bobby Witt Jr. is at short. Vinnie Pasquantino at first. Salvador Perez behind the plate. Michael Garcia at third. That's part of the song now. Garcia at third. That's the first 5 are pretty well entrenched now. Kevin Biggio will get the start in left field and bat 6th. Michael Massey batting 7th at second base. Drew Waters back in the lineup in right field, batting 8th. Kyle Isbell in center, batting 9th. The 9 for the Giants that Michael Lorenzen will face. Mike Yastrzemski leads things off in right field, followed by Wilmer Flores, the DH, and Jung-Hoo Lee in center field. Elliot Ramos is in left field hitting cleanup. Willie Adames, the shortstop. Lamont Wade is the first baseman, batting 6th. Casey Schmidt will play third base. Patrick Bailey does the catching tonight. And Tyler Fitzgerald is the second baseman. We talked about base running and the need for the Royals to be a little sharper in the base running department. Might be a no-go zone on the bases. Patrick Bailey's got one of the best throwing arms in baseball.
Yep, elite defensive catcher. I'm looking at some of the numbers for Hayden Birdsong this year. First of all, he looks like a little tiny baby.
He does.
He looks like a small child.
He does. He has a baby face.
Very
sure.
cherubic.
Only 23 years old. Yeah.
Also, shout out to the Eastern Illinois Panther. The peripherals are pretty good. He gets a lot of swing and miss stuff. Strikes out almost a quarter of batters he faces. Average fastball sits just over 96. I mean, he's got some pretty good stuff. Does give up a lot of hard contact, which, again, guys who throw hard, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Yeah, that happens. Guys put the bat on the ball and whack it. Doesn't get a lot of ground balls. A lot of stuff goes up into the air. Walks a decent number of guys. About 10% of batters faced are walked this year. Royals don't walk a whole lot, but there are some opportunities here. You hope, and I know I've been burned on this a couple of times this year, but you take a guy like Salvador Perez, who has been hitting the ball hard this year but is not getting results. You hope that against a guy who gives up a lot of hard contact, maybe you can get kind of a meeting of the minds and it turns into something positive.
Couple of questions that we had from the YouTube chat regarding the Royals. First from Mark B, who gets the ball Wednesday afternoon. Still to be announced. I think it's going to be a bullpen game. I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Bolin is first to take the ball for the Royals, and then I think they'll just kind of cover it with bullpen by committee the rest of the way. Both Cody and Jason throughout the show today asked about Jack Caglione and the Royals' obvious need for a boost to their offense and whether that's Jack Caglione in the immediate future. I think we let him maybe take an at bat at AAA before we anoint him the savior of the offense. I'd like to see what it looks like for him at the next level up, but it's a hitter-friendly league. Some of the pitching is not quite as good. In AA, you're facing guys who are going to be big leaguers. In AAA, you're facing guys who were big leaguers. There's a bit of a difference. And so it'll still be a good testing ground for Jack, but I would expect him to rough up AAA pitching pretty good. And how long will the Royals sit on him? My theory, and we'll workshop this when we have more time to talk about it, I think the Royals would love for Caglione to beat down the door, but I think they'd like for their own offense to get going a little bit too, so that when they do call Jack up, it's not, oh, you got to be the savior. You've got to be the guy that picks up the whole rest of the offense that's underachieving, because that's too much to put on anybody coming straight up from AAA. And I hope that's not the situation they put Jack in. I don't think that'd be beneficial for him or for the team. Hopefully he mashes down in the Pacific Coast League and the Royals offense starts scoring 4 or even 5 runs in games.
How nice would that be?
Often. Oh man, Royals pitchers probably dream about it. And Michael Lorenzen's head hit the pillow last night, dreaming about a 4 on the scoreboard, thinking what a wonderful world it would be if I could get 4 runs of support. Final word next on 580 Sports Talk. A quick final word for today, Brendan Dworzinski.
Final word for me today is that I'm glad Bill Self listened to me, and me specifically, in how he wanted to build his team this offseason. Yeah, you got to get guys who can actually play, but finding guys who can play a bit and fit the roster, more important than just going out and getting the big names. Glad Self's doing that.
Final word for me, the more we see it, the more real it becomes. There has not been a more valuable pitcher in the American League to date this season, according to Baseball Reference WAR, than Kris Bubic. Remarkable his rise from returning from Tommy John surgery to becoming one of the Royals' best relievers in their playoff push last season to now being, to this point, their best and anyone else in the American League's best starter. It's really cool to watch. He's been very fun to watch pitch so far this season. Royals baseball tonight, 8 p.m. pregame, 8:45 first pitch. Then tomorrow, 2 p.m. pregame and 2:45 first pitch. That all but cancels us out for tomorrow. We'll be on after the game if there's time. Other than that, we'll talk to you on Thursday from 3 until 6. For Brendan Dworzinski, I'm Dan Lucero, and this was 580 Sports Talk. Adios!